It was the Q&A, your Jimmy Cow, your all of that stuff. Yeah, whatever. We felt like it was stiff. You can literally see. Less so you, more so me. I'll be so real. I look stiff as hell, bro.
Even in the first one, the first episode you filmed with me, I was best stiff.
Yeah. No, but at least it's a conversation from the get go, though, isn't it? For you guys. For me, like I was stiff in the Q&A, bro. I was like stiffing in something that I had scripted. That makes no sense. But then we realised that we're much better on the conversation.
The way you're taught to learn is that you're taught to memorise everything, get everything in order, but that's not how life really works.
Exactly, man. It's messy.
You know what really changed? Sorry.
No, that's it, man. It's messy, and no Ronaldo.
So you know what really changed everything? It was doing those public videos.
Yeah.
Because then we had the confidence and we felt more comfortable chatting shit. Because we're all chatting shit on the street anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And there was this guy that we met.
Public interviews are funny, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just something like just taking the piss out.
We want to do that, but I prefer we do it in London because.
But let's just go on, man. We got some funny content.
This is a dodgy area, to be fair. Honestly, when the students leave, it's a completely different city.
You find like 5-10 minutes of just empty space.
Honestly.
Like when no one walks past the place. But in London, every single square centimetre someone's walking past every day.
It's true. It can be a tough crowd, though.
Yeah, it can be a
very tough crowd.
Yeah, it can be a very tough one.
But people don't see that though. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
People in a tough crowd.
Yeah.
How so?
Because you've got to. At the end of the day, you're gonna have to spend the hours doing something before you're gonna
to get like a few minutes video. You're gonna need to spend like.
You're gonna need to spend a while. Like
I get 1 minute good video, it's like an hour.
He probably hasn't seen any of your stuff. I just showed him the page, but I don't know if he's looked at it. I often see when you guys post, even the London one. I was telling him about
the mayoral one.
Yeah, it was that. But even the West London one, he was asking that girl, or what part of London is the best part of the West part.
Oh yeah, she was not happy.
She was bugging out, bro. Yeah.
West London,
Yeah. Some things. If you pick on key cultural themes, then people react in a predictable way, which kind of, that's going to generate some sort of reaction. If they say something controversial, it just. You can almost predict, if you've seen enough social media, you know what type of stuff
100%
goes viral and what doesn't.
Bro, literally like Spanish or English, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we did that today.
What's Spanish or English?
You know people say.
I've seen the meme.
Yeah, we did that to people.
Some guy on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
The guy said Spanish or English, and maybe I saw it on your Instagram.
I don't know. I've seen it on Instagram before.
The guy's looking back at him the whole time. I said Spanish or English. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. Basically, we did that to people today. It got so awkward. It was like
funny, bro.
So imagine I'm just there with the microphone there, we're all just frozen, standing still. No one wants to move.
Yeah.
But it's not stupid. Are we allowed to? We're not allowed to swear.
Swear. Speak as really as you like.
Like stupid shit like that just does well. Do you know what I mean?
Just sitting a bit tighter. I'll say bring the mic so that both of you speak.
They say in the BBC episode you don't have to cut out their PR.
Should I turn it at all?
No, just push this because you
like this.
Push it forward.
Oh, forward. Oh, sorry.
And then you can also change that.
Ah.
So I'd say make it so that you guys can both diagonally speak into the mic and sit into the table.
Like this.
But, what is it you just said?
What do you mean?
You said something before.
Oh, right. I don't even remember now. Spanish or English or something. Yeah. Oh, right.
No, you said we didn't start. We started ages ago.
We already started?
Yeah.
That's flipping crazy, bro. Okay,
and that's the purpose. I like to start this way. Cause when I used to watch Joe Rogan, everything that starts, conversations already happening. Probably the last episode I watched of Joe Rogan that I enjoyed was when he interviewed Robert Downey Jr. And obviously natural conversation, he's acting like a fan, he's acting like a regular guy. But they'll always be like, what is it, live? Yeah, so you can't edit it now, you can't change anything. There's no... And that's the one thing I don't like about sort of scripted things is somebody will always try to say, oh, make sure you don't ask this, don't ask this, don't. Like, it's kind of like they want to take what you're making and sort of make it formulate. I was actually, speaking of this, the other day, I don't know if you guys watched the Euros or anything, but Harry Kane was talking about, how can these former England players go on their podcast and start speaking honestly about how they feel. And I was watching it through the perspective of, have you heard of a Man United supporter, Mark Goldbridge, that's football.
Yeah.
He's saying, oh, well, when all these guys go on Sky News, and it was Alan Shearer, the usual lot. He's like, when all these guys go on Sky News and they speak about England, they kind of speak in a way. They won't honestly tell you what's wrong with England.
Yeah.
The football club. They won't tell you what's wrong. They won't say who's at fault. They won't say any of that. They'll sort of speak in a way, beating around the bush. And then what Mark was saying is that even though they might jump on the podcast, that still might not be authentic. They might still be playing a character just to rile people up. But it's more authentic than what they're doing in Sky News or Sky Sports News, Rob. And then he said, at least in that form, they're saying, okay, it's because Harry Kane's not moving in such a way, or why is he not doing X, Y, and Z? Yeah. And Harry Kane's obviously not happy that they're getting criticised. And that's how I feel about product. You've got to be honest, you've got to be natural.
Unfiltered, innit?
I think that there's two sides to it, though.
Yeah.
There is honesty, which is good, because, like you said, you want it to be authentic. You want to actually get people's opinions, right? Yeah. You want to actually know what people mean. They come across real.
Yeah.
The only reason why I'd say that some people sometimes would prefer to be a bit more careful with what they say is simply just to protect themselves. Like you can understand that, you know what I mean? But I also get your point about the authenticity. For example, like we were speaking about earlier about Joe Rogan. Bless you. With Joe Rogan, I think that that's part of the reason why people fell in love with him, because he is so just chill. Yeah. Joe Rogan feels like you've just walked. You know what Joe Rogan feels like? He feels like you just walked in the street and just started a conversation with a guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then you also get like the whole point about you want to kind of protect yourself sometimes. Yeah. So there's kind of two. I guess the best way would be finding balance. The only scary thing is NDAs.
Non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah. You know, like some people make you sign NDAs. Yeah. That like stops you from being able to speak about certain things. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's what you meant. Fair enough.
I think it's the duality
the
of
the way man learn about NDAs is a rapper will do something with some people or some.
Yeah.
I've heard
or they get like the girls like to sign the contract and whatnot, innit? Yeah.
That, but like
Dubai parties.
Dubai parties is crazy. Yeah.
But like
the
crazy. You walk in the door, you put your phone. The phone goes in the metal Friday cage. Sign this. If you speak, that's how I learned. But then, to be fair, you're not allowed to speak on everything because people make you sign NDAs. Even like if you see the new Star Wars contract, you got to sign an NDA probably. Keep them off quiet. So yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I guess privacy is a real factor.
It's
do you know what I mean?
the difference between the internet and TV. Like, TV, they're still trying to put on an act.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've seen this, but it was a BBC News presenter. They didn't know she was live when she was recording. I'll probably try to send you the clip later. They didn't know she was live when she was recording. So as the noise was made, the bum, 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 she'd make faces and then she'd put the middle finger up at one point.
The white lady, innit? Yeah.
People in the comments, this is why they like her, because she looks like a real person.
Yeah.
But then obviously when the thing starts, she'll know. Blank expression. But it's sort of like, why are people acting like robots? Like politicians kind of thing.
I mean...
That's why I get it to...
No, it's not that. I was going to say, I think you have to take into fact that there's multitude of factors, isn't it? For example, you have to take into the fact that it's British culture as well to put up a proper face, a stoic face.
They'll do it in America,
no, but like, they will. But for British people, it's even more integral to their identity, innit? Like, if you're on BBC News, you gotta put up a certain form. You gotta put in the little chuckle like, ha ha ha. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta do that. That's part of the role, innit? You know what I mean? So it has to happen, innit?
I feel like the mainstream media today, or like the legacy media, however it's called, still has an emphasis on making sure that things look in a corporate manner or look professional, or anyone from kind of an older generation, maybe 35, 40 plus, would still kind of have like these generic expressions or expectations of like how someone should be in like a professional setting. And I think the mainstream media still has that, but then more modern social media now is kind of saying, we don't need all of that now. Yeah. Why do we need to have everything segmented and done robotically? Humans are not actually robots. We're going to create some more authentic content. And obviously it gets harder to verify content which people are just talking about, because people haven't done because there's no guarantee that people have always done the research. Whereas with other actual established companies, they've already done all the research, ITV, BBC, etc. But then when it's just 2 people, 4 people just sitting on a podcast, who's to know that...
that will have died right now.
Yeah.
Fine, we'll sort that out later.
It actually says battery exhausted. That's
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, I like the point that you're making. I was going to say, I think it's the main reason why so many of these like companies are now starting to like get YouTubers in. That's why sponsorships and brand deals have just skyrocketed. We're going on adverts and we're seeing like people that we watch on YouTube on there, and it makes sense because they're recognizing, like you guys are saying, the robotic thing's not really working. So they're trying to move towards it being more authentic, it being more unscripted, and they know that these guys know how to pull it off. Yeah. Which is part of the same reason why.
But even then, you say that when they get those people on, they still want to make them mold to what the corporate world is doing.
I guess it's kind of smart then, because
I've seen it a lot. Many people have actually approached us about this podcast saying, "Oh, we'll pay you such and such, do this, or we'll give you thousands of pounds of equipment, studio space, etc." But then you give that's say like your influencer coming to BBC or whatever. If you do that, or if we go to these people and they give us all this funding and etc., they'll expect you to do what they want you to do, how they want you to do it. And I don't know if what you give up with that is even worth that in the first place.
Because in a way you end up becoming a corporate slave, and people tend to do this sort of stuff, the podcast, to escape that, and now trying to drag you back in, and they drag you back in using money as well.
Yeah,
it's also really risky. But I guess it's smart in a way, because then to the general public, we're gonna think that this is my favorite YouTuber, so we're just gonna keep our eyes glued on, not knowing that behind the scenes they're being told, "Oi, I know this is how you roll, but you gotta do X, Y, and Z."
Oh, lucky bro! Literally just died.
Yeah, it died like 2 minutes ago.
Literally just died. But,
yeah, we got motions.
what was I gonna say? Oh, okay. I had a Canadian friend. I've probably told you about him, Angel. You spoke about the haha and the being a corporate shell. One thing so Angel was like I don't know. You probably won't get this because you don't go here, but there's a lot of like Canadians who study law in the UK because of how the law can be applicable. I think it's common law and so on and so forth. So anyway, he was studying law here, and this is after he's already done an undergrad and he's got a few years working experience. Basically, what he's told me now is he's known people who've gone to like pretty good universities in Canada, and they've worked in this government department in civil service. He said he particularly worked in procurement, right? But what he said is that what this place had was a lot of diversity. So he said for like 100 people working in that department and having maybe 11 managers, he said one of the managers would be like a black person, and they'd have 30 people of black or ethnic minority groups in it. So he's like, this is actually pretty diverse kind of place, kind of thing. But what he told me that really stuck with me is that despite the fact that those people would come from good universities, and is it in focus, by the way? Jordan? Yeah. Despite the fact they'd come from really good unis, and they'd
don't worry, you look good.
Be tight, by the way. Be tight.
I was gonna say,
I want to make sure we take up most of the frame.
You definitely take up most of the frame. I was gonna say, should we say it slightly this way? Yeah.
But
even pulling it a bit to the left, maybe.
Yeah.
All good, yeah?
No, man, you look as beautiful as always, guys.
Come on, man.
Magnum Opus.
We've got a lot to talk about what Magnum Opus means and everything. But to finish this story, what he told me is people would make jokes, and he noticed one of the black people would laugh, but he wouldn't laugh. He'd do like a ha ha.
Oh, like a forced one.
And
fit in.
Fake
he said
laugh.
like
Corporate laugh.
One of
Code switching, innit?
the life. There was literally no
That's
life.
a corporate laugh.
There was literally no life in him at all.
Corporate slaves.
And it's like they'd have no energy, no personality. They'd be like a robot. And he told me he was in a cab with one person. He said he used to work there. He said you'd be there 20 years. Even from an ethics standpoint, he said even the diversity that you had, you'd be there 20 years in the entry level.
20 years?
20 years in the same position. No
Well, like a solicitor or something.
Why?
Or associate.
It was in government procurement, so he'd work getting, if you wanted to build a road, who would the contract go to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
He told me a lot. He really taught me a lot, like, because he's several years old. He'd already done undergrad and a few years experience. So he told me, like, he got in a cab with this guy, and the guy told him, if you have any brains, you get the hell out of there, because you're not going to go anywhere in life doing that, and you're just going to lose yourself to some corporate job. And he said even the one like black manager that they had, the 11 managers, there'd be one black manager, which is still really good. He said he was the manager of diversity.
Oh.
Kind of. So you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
The corporate thing doesn't really.
I said he was literally a diversity hire. Literally a diversity hire. It's crazy.
Yeah. So like we'd sit and me and that guy would sit and we'd study in the library, talk for hours, and talking about life and all type of philosophy and
When's he
thing.
coming on the pod?
He's
Come
back
on,
in
man.
Canada now, innit?
Oh,
I started this
fairs.
after, and he's a big support. I discussed it with him. This podcast thing, I'd had it in my mind for I started in January. I'd had it in my mind for a year prior.
Okay.
Like I'd be sitting, thinking, pondering, postulating.
So rubbing his hands together.
Honestly,
One day.
like, and I got to a point where I sat in a room with some people and I'd said, we'd had a discussion. This was my first guest. Her name was Kitty, and her two friends, or my two friends. I didn't know Kitty. It's the first time I'd formally met her, and we were just having a discussion. She was the subject of the conversation because I didn't know her. I'm probing her a lot more. Like, so what's this about? She was talking about her mental health and did that thing turn off again?
Yeah, it's battery exhausted.
Alright, leave it to charge for a bit. I'll sort it out. I think it's probably
Bless you,
an
bro.
overheat thing, and it didn't get opportunity to charge, but technical difficulties. But basically, we'd speak about her mental health and all the things she was going through, and I'd probe her a lot. And the man then was sort of telling me like, chill, like this might be a bit intimate for her, kind of thing, in the sense that you don't know her. These kind of things aren't necessarily something anyone would tell anyone, kind of thing. But she was obviously open to discuss. And if you're there in a room talking to someone, you want to talk and actually like find out rather than sort of be like, yeah, oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then in that moment, after that day, I told them like, yo, I want to start a podcast. And this was like April 2023. So I started doing mad research. I'm seeing the cost of camera equipment. It's ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. Mics. Even these things, like these are the cheapest versions I could find.
Amazon.
Yeah. I think these are toners. These were like 30 quid, which was still a lot for a bro.
Yeah, sponsor Magnum Opus, man. Sponsor Magnum Opus.
Come on, man. Shout out Magnum.
Even this, like, you come to find, like, it costs a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm there just trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to sort myself out, etc., etc. So, and then I come to find some things I'm still contemplating, and then I see you start a podcast. And I'm happy for you, but I'm a little bit pissed because I'm like, why didn't I start? What was I waiting for? What was I thinking about?
Yeah.
What was I sitting there thinking about? So at that point, I hit that same girl up because the whole time I'm thinking, I want to get these guys on. That was 4 man. I want to do with them.
Yeah.
Because I spit this idea to them. These are the first people, well, not the first, but the first people I sort of say to. And I want to get with them. But me and some guy fell out. Blah, 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 blah. So I get her at least. And she seems to be okay, down with it. And that's my first guest. He's my second guest.
And now he's co-host.
Yeah.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, so...
Hey, second the best is what they say, innit? First the
Aye.
worst, second the best.
Man, so you've been promoted, bro.
You've been promoted.
They say 3rd time's the try. But do you know what?
Wait, who was the third guest?
Julius got his...
Bring them on, man.
He was skinny, wasn't it?
Listen,
And
you might as well make a whole panel, bro.
Introduce Skinny through him, innit?
Yeah.
And it's a whole thing. It's really a whole thing. He's got his own interesting journey. When I met him, he wasn't doing what he's doing now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'd wish to tell that while the camera's on, but whilst the camera's on you, we're talking about sort of journeys, introductions. Why
No
don't you
pressure.
tell... Huh?
So no pressure. So while the camera's on, I was trying to ignore it. I was trying to tell
I
us
forgot about you, know.
why don't you, because he doesn't know you, and I don't even know you too much. Tell us, like, kind
Tell
of
us about yourselves. Yeah.
how you two met, how you lot start, like,
Wow.
What's the backstory?
and
our origin story.
It's a romantic one, you know. Can't I? Like, when he first laid eyes on me, I was like, this is the
Hey,
one. Nah, I'm joking. Nah, do you want to say it or do you want me to say it? No, bro, we sound like a couple right now, you know.
you told us this.
No.
This feels saucy.
Nah, you hang up. No, I'm joking. Oh, you going for it? I got this. All right, so basically, boom, what happens is about like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, we met because we were both doing this. So we were both at uni, and the way we met was we were doing this uni production. And I think, if I'm not wrong, there's an old joke about Jerome loving to hang out with brown people, if I'm not wrong. Please correct me.
You went NCS, to be fair.
Exactly. I always tell people it's because of NCS.
It's because at NCS.
It's because of our sixth form. 'Cause I
I
went
went to a
to,
place called Neum Collegiate Sixth Form Centre.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know about the place before I went.
Yeah.
I tell you about this all the time. It's just a regular state school. Like, obviously they take the high grade people in the area, bro. In the area.
Yeah, shout out to my Browns. I'm joking. I'm joking.
And do you know what the worst thing is? When you go on open days, I'll tell you, I was sitting there. When you go on open days, that place looks mad diverse. Do you remember like on the open days?
I'll be
honestly,
so real.
bro.
It didn't look diverse.
No, bro.
I was still the only black guy in every room.
No, you saw one extra black guy and he was like, yeah, this is diverse. 1 in 11, remember?
On the open days, like the assemblies and stuff, like I saw every kind of individual there. Then when I turn up to the actual college, I'm seeing 95% Asians.
We should talk about how we felt.
And I met this guy. Tell him what you said to me.
Okay.
I said, one of us.
I walked up. Like to him, it's good to see another brother around here. Literally, before I saw you, I didn't see any other black people. So when I saw this guy,
I saw 3 or 4.
oh really?
No, how do you feel, man? You're always fifth.
You were the first one I saw.
I think I saw Royhan because I did physics as my first subject. Like I saw Royhan. I might have seen mine as well.
Oh yeah.
So he was your first, but you were his fifth.
Hey, relax. Don't put it like that. Relax.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Man.
Cherries and everything as well. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, I saw you. Know, it's like it's good to see another brother around here, right? Because literally, I mean, not that I have any problem with anybody.
No, he does. Off camera, he says I hate brown people.
No, every time.
Every time, man. He's like, oh man, if it was me, it'd be Jollof and Jollof.
No. But like I hadn't seen any other black people, and I was just like, because it was also weird for me because the secondary school I went to was very diverse. You got a bit of everybody.
Oh, same,
yeah. So it was quite jarring of like a change. Not jarring.
Yeah?
No.
Jarring?
No, not.
He doesn't like us. He doesn't like us.
Not jarring in a disrespectful way, but jarring in the sense that it was like I walk into a class and I'm the only black guy there. It's a bit like, you know. And also,
like, what is this like? Why?
Yeah, I feel like I just stuck out. You know, to this day, our head teacher, I'm not gonna say his name. That's how I feel like he memorized my name. Come on, he just came up to me one day. He just said Jerome. It was like, how did you know my name? I haven't even exchanged names with you. But it made sense. He probably checked the register, saw the one black guy on there. It's like, no, you know what it is? He probably looked on there, saw who was in the class, saw Jerome Jermaine, and said, I already know who Jerome Jermaine is.
Yeah, it could have been like the brown guy, like three shares down, innit?
It's like you were literally the only black guy in the class or anything.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about 300 people and
only 2 black people.
Not for all classes though. There was somewhere there were like 3 of us in one class.
For the whole year, there was 300 and there was 7 or 8 black people.
Yeah, there was even less white people as well.
Yeah.
Which is wild, but yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how like some of the demographics can be in certain areas of the UK. Like you think the UK, obviously the majority of the people who live here are white, but in certain areas the concentration is to the point where there's almost no white people, no black people in an area. And I think like people from like small towns or like people across the country probably don't really see that or experience that, because you get people who've come from farms and really small towns coming into uni, coming to the first time being in the big city, seeing so many people of different races and everything, and it's like you can see the genuine shock.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you're from this place. Oh, that's a bit exotic. That's a bit different. I haven't heard of that place before. That's a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just genuine, just not knowing, because let's say you've lived, I don't know, in a place like North London, for example, you're gonna know a lot of Turkish people. Let's say
Somalis.
In East London,
Somalis are everywhere, to be fair.
Bengalis, like South London, maybe parts like Peckham and Brixton, a lot of them are maybe more Jamaicans, Africans. So like every single area has like its common ethnicity.
Believe me, it wasn't even that. It was just the fact that particular school, because East London's probably Newham's probably the most diverse place in the UK.
Yeah.
But that particular school,
I was gonna say, you might want to adjust the.
Yeah, I'll do it in a sec. I think I need to call them. But that particular school just had just Asians.
What's it saying?
Basically,
your most of you is cut off.
He's got like a weird adapter type thing. So it's not charging the camera direct. He's charging a power bank, and the power bank is moving dodgy.
Oh.
That's why. But so I don't know if it's in focus. So do you want to move it and make us in frame?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
You guys might want to get a bit closer.
Because before I say the stuff I want to talk about, I want to make sure that I'm in.
Get a little bit more intimate, guys.
My bro's ready to spit some fire.
Yeah. I haven't even.
What I'm saying is.
I haven't even started yet.
No, I was gonna say.
I haven't even started yet.
Jeez. With regard to the topic you were saying about the Asians, I started, bro.
No, what I'm hearing is this is a big W for the brown community, man. That's all I'm hearing. Now, Jay, but for real though, before you were gonna say it's just an exception, it's actually not, bro. Because for me, I grew up in the exact opposite environment. So for me, I grew up with bare Eastern Europeans.
It's a record button. We all know enough about cameras to know where the record button is. I hope he's not recording in 4K, which is draining the battery or something.
But yeah, anyway, sorry, as I was saying.
Wait, how could you tell if it's 1080 or 4K?
I'll get him now. I'll get him now.
Alright,
we'll just
I can tell you ISO is 200. That's what I can tell you.
The exposure, innit?
Yeah, I'm not helping.
Yeah, I'm seeing like a few little peaks as well, man.
I see one of
like Himalayas vibes. Yeah.
So go on. What was your experience?
So alright, yeah. So for me, it was the complete opposite. So I was one of the 3 brown people in each year group in my school. But I grew up with bare Eastern Europeans, so Albanians, Kosovans, Serbians, bare Filipinos, bare Somalis, bare Nigerians, Ghanaians, bare white people. Literally everything under the sun. Even Latinos, like everything under the sun.
I had Chile, Brazil, Mexico, Spain.
Bro, it was crazy. But I grew up with everything except brown people. And I think for me, I probably had the similar experience to you guys in your sixth form, but I had that for like the straight 7 or 8 years, innit? So for me, being brown was just very, very different. You're getting like curry jokes every 2 seconds, this and that and the other. You know what I mean? Casual racism, all of that stuff. It's just it's not the best environment to grow up in terms of people understanding you, but it's a great environment for you understanding others, which is what I think was really cool. And I think that very much touches upon your point about multi-ethnic communities and why it's so beneficial for us learning about each other.
Similar to our good mate Biryani or Jollof or.
Huh?
You said you was gonna put on some.
Because you said you don't do that on your podcast, we just left it out.
Oh, bro, I didn't mean to say anything, but I just thought. If you wanted to, you could have, honestly.
No, it's got.
I even told, I told you, I was like, these man might bring some.
Oh, now I feel bad.
Bro, I thought.
Oh, no,
I was literally looking forward to it. Slightly.
Bro, he said to me, he's like, oh, we don't really do that. So I was like, oh, I guess we ain't packing this then. I was slightly looking forward to it. I was like, don't mind me, I'm just gonna munch my biryani then. Like, I'm not even bringing none for no one.
Oh, no, but going back to what we're saying.
Come on, we'll bring it back next time. Listen, run it back next time.
Next time we'll bring you some munch.
Listen, if you want the munch, just say I want the munch for it, and we're gonna bring some in it. No, I'm asking no ice.
Next one we should do something different where like we all make some different food.
Yeah.
And then like one of us like tries it.
Yeah.
Like, we all pass it round and we all guess who's made it.
Oh.
Where are you from ethnically?
Uganda.
Okay. Okay. What are you guys known for, like cuisine wise?
I say our main thing would be like nyama choma.
Oh, choma, yeah.
You know about that?
That's meat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which meat is that? Like lamb or beef?
It's like lamb, beef.
Yeah. I need that, bro. I need that.
Like,
I'm telling you, man. I'm Ugandan through and through.
Say though,
you know what it is? There's so many.
You can admit Ghanaian jollof is better than Nigerian. You can admit it's okay.
Is Ghanaian jollof or Nigerian jollof better?
It's Ghanaian. You can admit it.
He's
left now. He's left now.
I'll tell you.
I've actually had some of his Nigerian jollof.
Yeah.
And it was very nice. My only complaint was that it was way too spicy. How do I have one spoon?
Yeah.
And like I already feel like my cheeks are coming down like a waterfall.
That's why Ghanaian is better. There's a good balance.
Now listen, off camera now. What did you actually think of his jollof?
I need to try the Ghanaian one. I had Ghanaian one many years ago, and it was a bit less spicy. So overall, at the moment, Ghanaian's winning. I think I've had it twice. At the moment.
Yeah, get me.
I'm not gonna like this.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Listen, enjoy yourself while you're editing.
Just not down the spice a little bit. Like maybe instead of 5 green chilies, maybe just like 0.5.
Man said 0.5. Man said the whole 10 down. Man said drop it down.
My parents didn't grow up like I didn't grow up like eating a lot of spicy food because my parents didn't cook a lot of spicy food.
So in Ugandan cuisine, is there not like a lot of spices used? So sorry, not spices, but spiciness. Like, do you know what I mean?
As in, there can be, but it's more up to kind of discretion of whoever's cooking rather than the general culture being everyone, I guess, eats very spicy food. I think so there's more kind of variety because I think like definitely in West Africa and also in the Caribbean, a lot of their food is very spicy.
Yeah, no, I can't, man. Them flipping bell peppers be getting it. I gave my dad some munch one, bro. Huh?
Bell pepper.
Yeah.
What,
bell
spicy?
peppers aren't spicy.
No, bell. Oh, sorry, man. It's Scotch bonnet, bro.
Oh, Scotch bonnet.
Scotch bonnet. You know, I actually bugged out.
Scotch bonnets aren't that bad.
No.
I'm desensitized.
No. Scotch bonnets aren't bad, but I'm just saying, whoa, hold on now. First of all, let's just get this straight. Asian cuisine is much spicier than African cuisine.
On
by
the whole.
far. Afro-Caribbean cuisine by
on
far.
the overall,
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
By far, but I'm just saying that Scotch bonnets can be spicy. But like, when I brought it to my daddy, it was like, oh, it's a new chili unlocked. He started munching on it. It was like, my daddy, yeah, we'll be eating. And then I don't know, in our culture, you get like green. You know how you're talking about these 5 green chilies, yeah? We'll have 5 green chilies in one sitting when we're eating. And we're just munching on some rice, having it with our hands. And then at the same time, we're like, let me pop this green chili in my mouth at the same time.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Mad experience I had with one of my Asian friends was when we went to our local peri. Shout out to Roosters Peri in Harrow, if anyone knows or recognizes.
Listen, sponsor Magnum Opus.
Yeah, Roosters Peri.
No free promo. You better send the check now.
Since I was like 6 or 7 years old when it first came, but I remember us going in. We both got half chicken and chips, standard meal.
Standard.
But before inflation, I think you could even get it for under £10. But
Inflation ruined chicken and chips.
Yeah,
man. Imagine
man.
I walked into a shop, 1 piece chicken and chips was £7. I walked out.
£7.
£7.
Fried.
£7.
Yeah, walked straight out.
Bro,
Fried. Even
listen.
fried. It was £7.
grilled
you know-
used to be £7 back then. When you had the grilled one, you're like, I want to get something a bit premium, something a bit more. So we
Grilled was like when your mom gave you an extra £2. And she was like,
yeah,
you go and
so
treat
like-
yourself.
Sorry for the endless technical disruption, guys.
Nah, it's calm, man. It happens. It
Do
happens.
let's just make sure first that it's in 1080.
Oh, yeah.
Because then that will make it
Still
easier.
recording.
Oh, we need AB. We need another episode where we like do Ghanaian versus Nigerian jollof, like a taste test, like a blind taste test. That we
I'm not saying nothing yet, but your boy said your jollof is terrible, fam. That's what I'm saying.
Terrible.
He said, bro,
I
he
just
said, I don't
my
know if you can swear on this, but he said
I
it's
said
shit,
it was
bro.
really.
That's
This is I'll quote. I said it's really nice. The only issue is it was too spicy, bro.
Julian,
I was bugging out after like one spoon.
It was that bad?
Well,
I'm just knowing you said like you must have just put a crazy concentration in.
that's a great concentration.
Crazy concentration.
Bro, this is A-level chemistry, right?
Whipping it out, doing the most.
This is how you know I did A-level chemistry, man.
Yeah?
Oh, I want the best, bro.
Bro was cooking up like it's Breaking Bad.
Cooking up.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Like Breaking Bad.
all this and that.
No, he needs he knew. No, he knew what you meant.
No, I
knew what we meant.
I said that. What do you
Wait.
mean? by that?
No, but what do you mean? What do you mean? That's the real question. Listen,
I don't mean that, bro.
I don't know, man. Me, when I cook, I'll cook with spices. I don't know what yours cooking with, because your seasoning is a bit different, isn't it? I ain't talking about Ugandan seasoning right now, bro.
All right, video.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Nah,
All
but
that is
as
user specific anyway.
I was, sorry.
Jollof biryani is all user specific, Carl. At the end of the day, I might make the best Nigerian jollof, you might make the worst Ghanaian jollof.
Wow.
I've made biryani before.
You see how he chose that example specifically? He didn't say he made the worst one and you made the best one. He chose it the other way around.
I made biryani before, innit?
Yeah? How was that?
It was good, bro. I'll
Yeah?
show you a snap.
Was it good for you or was it good for brown people?
No, it was good.
Brown people. Oh, we'll
Yeah?
see about
I
that.
made
He'll
it-
bring
I made it
some
like
next
proper-
episode.
I put the saffron leaves or whatever. I forget. It was a long time ago, innit?
That's a saffron leaves, G.
No, what's it called? No,
You mean
sounded like Saffron Lane in Leicester, bro.
What the hell is that? Oh, yeah, Leicester, yeah.
What's
uh-huh.
happening right now?
There's like 4 different conversations going on. You know what this, yeah? Next time you bring Nigerian jollof, I'll bring Bengali biryani. No, sorry, you bring biryani, I'll make jollof, innit? You get me?
Oh, from Bangladesh.
Huh? Yeah, I'm from Bangladesh, yeah. Yeah, so you know about my people.
When I left, I was hearing something about Mauritius and.
Mauritius.
You was
Nah,
telling
he
me
was asking where I was from. I said Uganda.
Oh,
Yeah, and then we're talking about his cuisine and the palate and the food, and then he was talking about like spice, he can't hack that. And I was talking about like my dad would just munch like 5 green chilies out in a row. Like it's just, and then we're talking about Scotch bonnet.
Green chili ain't nothing though.
No, of course it's not. That's what I'm saying. But he can't even. He said that I need a 10 for that. So I was like, that's not even like, you can't buy that, bro. you can't be like, hey boss, let me get a 10 for the chili. Like,
Not to show off my cultural diversity too much, but come on, Choma, bro.
Balaji.
Balaji.
Come on.
Would the Bengalis repost this right now?
Yeah, man, repost it. He's one of us. One of us.
Basically.
One of us. Are you sure you didn't go
Basically,
NCS instead?
basically, huh?
Are you sure you didn't go NCS instead?
No, I never went to NCS actually, but my school was like 97% Asians. So that's why like when you were saying like being like the only black person in the room and everything, like, I knew exactly what you were referring to. I was just waiting for the camera to come to.
Do you mean like my kind of Asians, or do you mean like East Asians and stuff?
Now, as in like South Asians, so like it would be mainly Indian, Sri Lankans. There were some Bengalis as well, but they were more like Indian Bengalis, probably because of the area from West.
Like West Bengali.
Because I'm from like closer to West London, kind of like northwest, but more west than east essentially.
Fairs.
So yeah, a lot of Gujaratis, a lot of Tamils. So like I'm just very familiar, like with a lot of the Asian cultures and subcultures and things already. So then when I came to Leicester, I saw a lot more Punjabis, and I saw like a different side, because I went to grammar school. I kind of eventually got the impression that most Asians they just like to revise, get high marks, do a bit of sports on the sides and stuff like that. But that's the kind of impression that I kind of ended up building. Then when I came to Leicester, I went to Birmingham a bit, went to different. I realised that Midlands Asians and London Asians are just very different.
They ain't the same, bro.
They're just not the same.
You're not the same, bro.
They're just not the same.
Bro, if you know, you know,
Anyway,
bro.
like-
They're not the same.
Start seeing the car memes. I'll be on
The car memes.
like
Yeah.
there'll be them Yara people in their R9 Audi or something.
Audi RS3
like
or
zooming
something.
up and down the road.
Yeah, I didn't really. I
Some
knew.
fat accent and they're like,
Yeah, I knew the.
I've got no insurance and I'll be
Yeah,
seeing that a
Bismillah
lot.
insurance and stuff like that. Like I knew.
Oh, I don't know the videos.
I
No.
knew.
I've seen
I'll
something
show
like
you.
I don't know the
knew that-
videos, but I got family that probably know
I'll
all
find
those
you,
people.
bro.
Basically, like I'm want to address this to you more, but
Yeah,
like,
go on.
there's a general like kind of subculture of like Asian boys loving speeding in their cars,
Yeah.
like expensive flashy cars.
Yeah.
I kind of knew of this a little bit already from like maybe like the richer kids in my school could afford cars at 17, 18. They would show it off. They would snap themselves driving on the wheel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know the extent to it was where people would literally know every specification about the car. This 2 litre, this revamp,
Yeah.
this. Like I didn't even know that like that was a whole thing.
It
But
wasn't
when,
until social media I found out about it.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's
the,
mad,
The
bro.
whole personality is their car. I think it's like Bradford and Birmingham.
That's
Yeah,
like the best.
yeah. It's
And you
funny,
know, I'll
those
be
are
so
my
real.
favourite type of
What you just
videos
said is
as
the
well.
best summary of it. Like, but to
Bro,
be
it's
fair, I'd
like
say
this.
Midland. I'd say Midland. Oh, Upnergy, innit? Upnergy is
yeah,
jokes,
yeah,
bro.
Up the
Upnergy
J's
is
from
jokes.
Ends, man.
Is
From
it?
West, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, he's cold. But yeah, what I was gonna say was so the whole like car culture. I think it's a lot more heavily in the Midlands and like obviously
the
the further
north,
north you
yeah.
go, But I think it is still very much obviously like Nissan, and I'm sure you see it. But obviously, unfortunately, you got London restrictions when it comes to cars and stuff, innit?
Exactly.
You get me?
Just-
So we just
I
ain't the
think it's
same.
the
Ain't the
freedom.
same.
You
The
do
freedom
see
to be
it
able to
sometimes.
It's the freedom of being able to
100%.
speed on motorways and A roads very
That's the
easily
thing, man. Like,
in,
listen, yeah.
like Leicester and everywhere else.
We do see it sometimes in the East. It's not as heavy as the memes portray it. Like the
don't.
memes are exaggerated.
Because
kinda-
in London,
kinda
No,
like-
in
you're
the
never really
Midlands
driving
though,
over
in the
40.
Midlands, it's not the
Is it
memes are
Midlands? Is it the
accurate. The
same?
memes are
It's
accurate,
kind
bro.
of like how
fair.
you said everyone on the news in other countries acts a certain way, but in Britain, it's a culture to have a stiff upper lip or
Yeah.
present yourself. That is the culture. So
Well, for South Asians in the UK.
Yeah, no,
in the Midlands and Bradford, like this whole car thing, bro. That this whole car thing is serious. It's not like you just see it in East London.
Bro,
Sometimes.
it's Tokyo Drift vibes, bro. But like
listen,
Mumbai Drift, innit?
Their whole life is about they'll pull up right next to you, like they'll start revving it. Do you want to speed off, like?
Yeah, man.
It's completely different, bro. It's
Bro,
completely
nah, let me tell you something right now, yeah. Audis, Beamers, and Mercs, bro, we brown boys love that.
That's
but I'll be honest,
currency, that's currency.
but here's, man said that's currency.
It's currency.
You know what it's like? It's like when you're in prison and you got like noodles, innit? You got noodle packets
Oh,
instead.
that's what you mean.
It's currency.
Yeah,
You
it's
can't
true,
have
it's
a
true.
portfolio.
So is it like
It's like-
is it like I want to
it's all
show off my
different.
wealth?
It's a status thing, bro.
Like I want
It's-
to show off my wealth. Sort
It's a
of thing.
status thing, bro.
Status
Like,
symbol.
like it's a. But you know what it is at the same time. I find it. You know what it is. I'm very different to a lot of brown people, like within our generation. Like I'm
I
like,
heard it.
what?
No.
What are you gonna say, bro?
No. I was just trying to say, but I was like, yeah, sure.
Oh, okay,
That's
say,
all.
okay.
No.
Listen. Let me wrap myself. Okay, all right. So basically, I feel like there's a lot. There is a heavy like car culture, but I think that's also to do with the fact that like realistically outside London there isn't much to do in terms of like recreational activities and like going out and whatnot. So I've got like family in the Midlands and like Brum and stuff like that, and I always thought like, bro, these guys are doing the most. Like they really just want to show that they got a big thing, but they ain't got a big. You know what I mean, it's like it's that kind of
Even
vibe.
driving around here
Is
as well. Like everyone around here drives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But my
that's
thing
more
is,
common.
my thing is, I went and asked my cousins and I was like, okay, cool. Why you guys always doing all of this stuff in it? He was like, bro, we got nothing else to do. He's literally like, we got nothing else to do, bro. And even as like people that came down from uni, innit, from like the Midlands and stuff, they're from Brum, they're like, yeah, Birmingham and that, yeah, and that. They're like, oh yeah, bro, we literally have nothing else to do. So we just soup up our cars, we go speeding, we go get some chawala. You get me? Like, if you know about chawala, listen, sponsor us, innit? Sponsor Magnum Opus and that. But yeah, no, that's all they really got to do, innit? So it's that, and then, I don't know, man, trying to chat. That's what they do, innit? Yeah. But like, bro, even in our area, literally like, huh? Say like, you don't know about the last bit? Yeah, because
Sure.
Huh? Listen,
let's not stereotype.
Huh? Let's not stereotype. Listen, I'll stereotype the hell out. No, joking. No, I'm kidding. No, but even in my.
Let's get cancelled. Come.
I just say if you man did it first. No, but for real though, even in my local area now, like I'm still from London and whatnot. There's, bro, I literally was coming. So I was coming back from.
What part of London are you from anyway?
I'm from Southwest.
Southwest.
Yeah, yeah, I know. See, I told you, man.
What borough though?
What borough? Listen, I'm not gonna shout out now. But I grew up. I'll tell you where I went to school and stuff. I went to school around like. No,
that's south.
That's very south, bro. That is very south.
That's like Richmond.
Bro, man said Richmond. Why listen?
No, Richmond.
Oh, Richmond. Okay, why that take that so personally? I actually do that so personally.
Kingston.
Nah, bro. This is a guessing game. What's gonna? No, I'm not from Sutton, bro.
I'll look on the map and I'll find out.
No, you listen.
Streatham.
I'm from Newham. He's from Barking and Dagenham.
Listen. Can I say where I'm from, bro? I'm just trying to talk. They don't want to let me talk, bro. I feel like Kevin De Bruyne.
Let him cook.
Nah, so I grew up around like Fulham and Chelsea, innit? So I went, so like, you know, literally where Stamford Bridge is?
Yeah.
So my school was like not too far from there. And then, yeah, I went to school, like school's called Chelsea Academy. I mean, it's not really going to affect me anymore. So, yeah, school was Chelsea Academy. Yeah. So that's where I grew up around. And obviously around there, there's not a lot of brown people and stuff per se. So, but it was just literally everything else under the sun. But weirdly enough, my local community, which I'm not going to say because I don't want to get stalked or nothing like that, but my local community actually had a lot of brown people. Like even just a lot of brown people. So it was a very, very flippant like difference between being in my local ends when I'm just like chilling and to go in school and stuff, because school basically becomes like your second like home. Do you know what I mean? That area that you grew up in.
6 hours a day, man.
You get me?
You realise that it really does add up.
Yeah. Because I feel like your first home is where you grow up. Your second home is like your school ends, and then your third home becomes like your uni ends. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
You don't think so?
I think.
I feel like you're in a rush to get out of Leicester.
Honest.
Really?
It's the way you look when he said that. You're like, fam, no, I want to get out.
You're talking about like all these kids that are driving around at 70 miles per hour. Had enough of them.
Not like Leicester.
You don't like Leicester?
Do you know what it is? Because we're from London. I think, do you know what it is with Londoners? It's the Londoners who leave, they'll start speaking about how rubbish London is and, oh, this place is better in London, this is that. And I think my perspective is, if you walk around here, this isn't even half of a borough. I even tell people like the main town, to me looks like Peckham Rye. And like, you have to walk out. You walk out Peckham Rye, you got the High Street, you got the Primark there. It's exactly like, and this is not even half a borough. So what you're saying about there's nothing to do here, you really notice that, especially when the students leave. A place like this is like a very student-oriented city. We were even discussing the other day, like, he was saying some of these nightclubs, some of these businesses must be doing money laundering, because how do they stay open when there are no students here? That's like how, so it's like, but the people that say London's bad, like you can't afford to live, I think they probably come out of London and they find it a bit easier, and then they lose the hustle mentality, they forget how to jog, and they start to feel like, oh, London's now rubbish, you gotta live in this place. I think because of how where I've grown up has made me who I am. Being here, I'm kind of tired of it now. And part of going to uni is like, oh, you want to leave home and do your own thing. Yeah. If I have to live with my mum for the next 10 years, so be it. I need to go back home. Like, bottom line, I need to go back home. Because places like this, even you go Birmingham, they don't really make much of a difference. They got the main seat and they got nothing else after that. Bro, London, you got Central. Yeah. But people don't understand. In London, you got Central London. You also still have Canary Wharf. And then you also got Piccadilly, like all the
Westfields.
The city is big.
I said all of them.
And then even the outskirts are big.
Even that,
massive.
you realise that
Brent is massive.
Every borough is almost like a little city in
itself. Town, it's got its own identity, innit?
And each borough has its almost capital in a way. Has its marketplace. Like for where I'm from, like Harrow, there's like Harrow Town Centre, St Anne's, St George's, and everything. And that's very different to the more residential parts of Harrow and the more maybe like recreational areas, like the parks and stuff, and they're all very different. And that's all like what a 30th of London. Because I say Harrow's like an average borough. So now imagine like an entire town or an entire city is really comprised of only a few businesses or shops, like there's literally a few shops, maybe one main employer, and that's it. And I think when you think about the whole structural nature of how the economy and stuff was, kind of before the internet and everything took over, and people could work remotely and commute very far, it was a thing of, especially I think when you really go to the north and stuff like that, it was one main employer, something like Kodak, even in the area that I'm from in Harrow, like in the 90s and 80s, like everyone just used to work industrially. This was like post late industrial revolution, and where everyone would just do like more manual trades jobs. And now that these industries have basically been decimated, like post Thatcher and everything, there's been no real opportunities for young people going up into the area. And then when you speak to people our age from these areas, they talk about high levels of drug crime, risky behaviors, because there's not enough kind of understanding of risk, and not enough perception of risk to yourself of what you can be losing. They think 3-4 years time, I'm gonna be here anyway with nothing to do, so I may as well go and speed in this car. I may as well do this drug. I may as well, not really take care of my life that much. And I think people from maybe bigger cities like London, Birmingham, Manchester, just genuinely don't have the perspective of a small town person or a village person. Like there's no setting where they'd ever meet or come into contact with each other. Particularly, let's say someone from London, some of my friends who went to Imperial, they're never going to meet someone from, I don't know, Hinckley in Leicestershire. They're never going to meet someone from a random a town like Halifax, realistically. They're just going to stay in their own bubble. And that's how you end up with so many bubbles of society which just don't integrate with anyone. Like I'd even say the House of Commons and Parliament is one, that's just one bubble. Do you think Rishi Sunak actually understands like what it's like?
He didn't even know how to put fuel in his car.
Do you see the interview with
and to a very small extent, I say you can almost not even force or expect him to understand the struggles of a poor person, like, because I think a lot of...
Or even just the average person.
Yeah, a lot of campaign,ers a lot of political people.
Isn't he richer than the Queen or something like that?
Yeah.
Him and his king. Sorry.
I think because of the resentment of the...
You say the Queen, but part of it
Sorry, I just deep
beyond the Queen, people are going to lose a lot of love for the royal family.
But
No, that's very true.
Absolutely.
But you're saying...
Off rip, as soon as Charles got in...
Finishing on what I'm saying, I think a lot of the resentment that comes into people like the royal family, Rishi Sunak, and people have been born into wealth. Like they haven't had to, do much for it. They've just been kind of given the privilege. A lot of the resentment kind of goes to them because they don't understand what it's like to be in poverty. But do we understand what it's like to just be growing up with wealth and the negative connotations that comes up with that? So like there has to be a type of balance. Like, do you really expect these lot to understand and to have empathy in the same way? So it's like you can complain to them so much, but they're not going to change.
They understand poverty is like an abstract concept, like there are poor people somewhere.
Yeah.
But they don't actually know what it means to be poor.
Because there's been a time when you had no money and maybe you saw your friends eating and you felt like man's broke. But then when you got a bit of money, and maybe you're older now and you'll think about when you were a kid, when you got a bit of money, relatively speaking, you were richer and you felt the feeling of being rich. Like, okay, now with what you do, the promoting, the businesses, you've got a little bit of money in your pocket now. You probably remember a time when you didn't have money, bro. That same feeling is the same feeling Rishi Sunak has, or a rich person has, but on steroids, bro. So you can sort of empathize with having money. When you get more money, you'll just empathize better. When I say Rishi Sunak just understands poverty as a concept that you might read about in a book. Yeah. They don't understand poverty like
he's not lived it.
And part of what you're saying about London difference between other places, I've seen homeless people before. Of course you've seen like crackheads or nitties, but it's not until you come here you see so many again and again and again.
And you're like, wow, Britain really lives like this.
You're walking and people will walk up to you like you said. I don't know if you posted on your story, but there's £1 Dan.
Yeah, shout out to £1 Dan.
Who's £1 Dan?
He's a
I don't even know where to start, bro. But you have a community of like known homeless people.
I was like tooting though.
No, like you.
It's like
famous, like in each local city.
Yeah.
And everyone has their local nitty. Bro.
I was gonna say, do you know No Nose Man?
Stopped by not like 7 or 8 a day. Like
yeah.
That's what I say. Like understand poverty and we felt it, but they understand it and we understand wealth to a degree. There was a time you was broke as a kid, now as an adult you have a bit of money, or you go uni, you get your SFE, you feel like you're the richest man in the world.
Yeah, when it
that
drops.
you can, but you might be a billionaire, but you understand what it's like to have money.
Yeah.
They understand poverty like it's something they heard about.
Yeah.
Not that they can really.
It's like they see it as textbook poverty rather than real life poverty. But then I think the issue is as well, right? Is unfortunately, or fortunately, people come from different backgrounds, right? So people come with different experiences, whether it's, I don't know, on like an emotional thing, on a financial thing, or other aspects, right? So, for example, just because Rishi Sunak understands the aspects of, doesn't understand the aspects of money as well, he does understand the aspects of, like, I don't know, ethnicity and like how that acts when you're in a higher status, right? Like being like an ethnic person who's achieved a lot financially isn't the same, is a difficult situation to be in. So my point is that I think, you know, there's always the common expression, right? It takes a village to raise a child or like whatnot, right? So I think similarly, it does take a real government in order to run a country, right? That's the whole point of the government. The issue isn't one individual, the issue is the government itself. And like when the body itself doesn't have individuals from different backgrounds who can input different things, we're not going to be able to get these different experiences in order to come to a conclusion that's going to work for everyone.
Yeah.
That's the real issue. It ain't one man, but the one man is the face of the government.
The system itself is broken. And do you know what, now that you bring that up, the system being broken, I think a lot of people complain about the way things are, and they've sort of been convinced and have convinced themselves into thinking they can't change it. But it's mad, if you look at the date now, there's an election around the corner, and people have opportunity to vote, and the people are asked, they seem to not care at all. I think when I hear that, I think to myself, in France, like every 50 years, they used to kill one of the monarchs. Like they literally used to kill them. Like when they thought this guy's taking a piss, get rid of him, until they completely got rid of the monarch. There was a time when if people didn't like the system, they would change the system. They wouldn't sit in their home thinking, oh, it doesn't matter, or you can't do anything about it, kind of thing. So when you say, oh, the government's this way, it needs to change, there's really an election about to happen. And the people that should be voting, the people that should be doing something about it, the people who should be voicing and concerning themselves with it, are the ones who are most likely to sit on their bum and do nothing.
I think what it is like the increasing pressures, not only financially but socially, on let's take a specific group demographic. Let's say young men, for example, like increasing financial pressure to find your own place, get your car and everything, and to start some sort of journey which you're supposed to
as a provider, right?
Yeah, as let's say when you're 10, 15 years old, you're thinking, oh, when I'm 25, when I'm 30, I'm gonna have this. But then now when you now turn 20, 21, you think in 25, 20, when I'm 25, 30, am I even going to have the basic? Am I even going to even be able to move out, type of thing? And I think the way that younger people have had to really, really scale down their aspirations, it's just, I think people are just losing a lot of sense of hope in terms of in a communal way. Like maybe I think people had a lot more passion and hope. That's why when you speak about the French and how they dealt with the monarchy and stuff like that, it's because there was a genuine belief coming together. The only thing I've seen with that recently is Palestine, and I'm very happy about that. It's really shown everyone, regardless of where you stand on it, there is only really one stance to be. But regardless, even if you do think there is another, you can't argue with the fact that it's united so many different people you'd never think to be united. And I have to shout out the Uni of Leicester's Palestine encampment.
I saw you guys did like was it something like people were lying down on the floor and stuff? Was that your university? Was that another one?
I don't think so, no. But for us, it was...
was that Birmingham? I think it was Birmingham, maybe?
It was tents set up outside, opposite...
just around the corner.
One of the buildings, yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't the Leicester one? I swear I saw the thing of people like lying down and they were like pretending to be like the people who were on a line.
Really, but even in a relatively small city like Leicester, to have thousands of people in town, probably even tens of thousands of people all demonstrating, protesting, it was something different to see. And not to divert the topic onto protest or anything like that, but just to say, like, the main key point is that there needs to be a founding general nature of hope within a particular generation. And if that generation doesn't have hope, then they're just gonna think and say, oh, it needs to change. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna go on my phone, scroll this now, watch this. I'm not actually gonna think about the things which are affecting us all as a group, because I can't even pay my next bill. So why am I thinking about an entire country? So I think by people gradually being squeezed, being pushed to the bone, being pushed to the wire. We saw this with COVID, with everyone self-employed. People just lose the fight and the will and passion in them.
But you know, I say that, and I'll let you guys, because we've been rambling for a while, but I saw, you know, countries literally get founded on revolution, like I saw something on Insta when I was scrolling. My thing is probably very political.
Yeah.
Maybe a good mix, but it was a guy talking about how the US is founded on a 2% tax on a daily drink, tea. They said that was enough. Like, you know, Boston Tea Party was a 2% tax, literally a 2% tax. Hear me when I say a 2% tax on tea was enough for them to say, we're not having this, and it started a war. And then now he said, oh, but nowadays we live in a society where every penny you earn is taxed, the house you live in is taxed, the money you used to buy the house is taxed, and to live in that house every year, it's a different America to the UK, but they have to pay tax on that house every year. To send your kids to school is taxed. The building that was used to build, the material that was used to build that school, which is getting taxed, is also taxed. And the company that needed to have those materials and have those permits to build the school was taxed. And they pay payroll tax, and the employees pay tax, and the tax goes to the government. God. It's like, the country was founded on a 2% tax on tea. That was enough for them to have them to lose their minds.
Yeah.
But now it's every aspect of... And I've read into some of the history. They say the American government, to fight a war, had to literally beg the people. Just a 9% tax, one tax, not revenue, value-added tax, just one tax on income. And then in 5 years, once we're all done, we're going to end that tax. That was actually, if you look in the history. So we look at today's society, people kind of get pushed around like pawns, despite the fact they do have power. You're convinced you don't have power. You do have power. You're convinced that you don't, and people don't do anything about it. That's just how I find that quite strange.
I think there's two reasons for it. I think it's a combination of comfort and distraction. Comfort in the sense that there is being severely uncomfortable. So, for example, let's say tax was like 90%, so you couldn't even afford a roof over your head. Then I think people would absolutely lose their minds about it, right? But if you can just get by, and at the end of the day you can afford to get in your car, get your house, come home, scroll through TikTok, for example, you're going to be comfortable with it. And where I think the distraction comes in is the fact that a lot of people are more focused on social media, for example. I know I sound like an old head jumping on here, being like, social media, them kids, right? But I feel like a lot of people are just distracted by it. So, for example, if I can, like I said, if I can afford to go to XYZ, come home, maybe afford to be able to, like, for example, still come to Leicester, do stuff like that. I'm just comfortable enough. You know what I mean? Whereas perhaps in the Boston Tea Party days, perhaps that 2% was really heavy. I also think distraction in the sense that now, let's say I'm annoyed, I'm really pissed off. I'm just going to scroll through YouTube, watch something to calm me down, for example. Whereas back then, they didn't have that. For example, back in the day, we'd be sat here without these cameras saying, I can't believe they just tax us that much. These men are taking a piss. We should do something about it. But when you're distracted, you kind of just make yourself numb. I know I sound like an old head jumping in here saying social media is bad. I think there's some benefits for it. For example, when we're talking about Palestine, for example, there's a lot of misinformation, but also good information on it, on the internet, right? So a lot of things to try and distract you. Well, I say not misinformation, but there's a lot. Actually, yeah, misinformation.
No,
misinformation that's trying to like paint it in a different light. Because let's be honest, I think all four of us can agree it's a genocide.
Yeah.
It's not a war.
Genocide.
It's a genocide.
Yeah. Take all my future jobs
And
back.
do you know what they say? How can Médecins Sans Frontières, Oxfam, UNICEF, how can all these people be lying? How can all... And I'm just naming the ones I can remember right now. Yeah. There's so many more. There's global... I can't remember.
I mean, most of the universities are even like tied into that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How can all these people be lying?
How
can doctors who swore an oath, these are the real doctors, by the way, who are getting killed, how can they be standing in front of bodies How can all of them be lying?
Yeah.
There's not even no shift, no maybe. How can they just all be lying? How can they all be supporting terrorists? How does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I think about that, and the irony is, it's the same set of people. It's not necessarily, I'm gonna say it's white people, because I think that's racist to say that. But it's the same people who are responsible for war in the Middle East, for colonialism, for slavery. Those same people who keep doing the same things are the same ones who are going to the same people, and at the end of the day, they're probably 80% responsible for the genocide, giving the weapons to the people doing the genocide. And then on the news, they won't even... You know, the irony is, I saw something, it was like a historical map made in 1709. It was a skit somebody made. It said, it was a US president. He said, I want to hang this map, this gift. It was a historical map of the world in 1709. The person said, somebody might find it offensive because a particular country is not recognized on that map. And then their justification, well, it was 1709. That country wasn't recognized. I'm not going to say what country it is because that might actually get me into a significant amount of trouble, but... It's like there's so much done to not say, to even say the word Palestine. They refuse to say Palestine. If you go 50 years ago, they'll say it. If you go 100 years ago, they'll say it. You can find historical evidence of pictures of Palestinian passports. You can even find cartoons. It was like an old Looney Tunes cartoon. It was like teaching children every country in the world. They didn't say one country, but they did say Palestine.
Yeah, but they changed. They updated it. Did you see that? They updated it to change it. That's why the one you found is probably on YouTube, isn't it? And that's the old version. That's the reason why that's up there. People kept up the old version, the OG version, and then now it's changed, so they removed that bit. And then now you got obviously the country that's not real. Let's just say that.
What is this Orwellian thing that you got going on?
Yeah.
Where?
Listen, all I'm saying is something's confirmed in it. I'm not gonna.
The irony, and I've said the irony a few times. I said it's the same people doing the same thing. What you need to understand is they'd actually do that to any one of us.
Yeah.
If they could. Or
I mean, they already are. Look at all the other countries that are doing
Congo and etc. But
yeah.
What they're saying is, if you're not supporting Palestine, I'll be honest, what you're saying is that if it was the 1700s, 1800s, you would be saying that I'm not a human being, I'm not a man, therefore I shouldn't have any rights, so of course I should be on the advantage. You'd be saying that. You'd be sitting on the fence thinking, oh, do you know what, I don't know. You're a coward. Like, you're a coward.
Like, yeah, why do you think slavery existed for 500, 600 years and it only took 100 to 150 years for it to finally be abolished? And even then, its legacy still plays a high extent in terms of the casual racism that is seen today. But sometimes you wonder, and you're like, why did people actually tolerate that for so long? But then when I look at recent events, such as the lockdowns, where people couldn't even see their dead grandmas, but these guys were literally having parties. That's something I'm still trying to get my head around. But if people can accept that, I think they can accept anything. And it goes back to the point of comfort and entertainment in general. If you give people enough comfort, entertainment, and enough to keep them distracted from what's
really, docile.
You're pacifying.
Exactly.
What's really going on, they're going to lose themselves in this endless fake realm of pleasure and comfort, and not actually think, in real terms, my wages have gone down 50%. I couldn't see my dead mother at a funeral, and it's like, and to think that people are tolerating that, it just shows that we don't have enough self-belief as a community.
I think to kind of touch on basically all of what you lot are saying, I think the factor that actually links to the original point that you actually made is priorities. There's too many things. I think the thing you were talking about as well as men is that there's an asset checklist. So there's a checklist between this asset and that asset and that asset. Then all right, cool, get married, this and that, move on. That's my job. That's my role. Trad roles, whatever, traditional roles. I don't believe in that. Just that's your role in it, basically. I think the whole concept of when you're talking about revolutions, the reason people could do revolutions before was because they had less to lose. There was less to lose, and there was more to fight for back then. Because now, the way things are, you make one mistake, people catch you. They catch you, they catch your family. They catch your family, everything's game over. That's your whole lineage done. You know what I mean? This and that and the other, right? And I think what you're saying is as well, is that the priority thing is that you got so many minuscule priorities in the sense of, on a personal level, minuscule in terms of like the larger scale of things, you know what I mean? Like on a cosmological, all of that level. So like on an interpersonal level of like what you need to do as a person. And then in terms of the priorities, in terms of on a global scale, that's why the Palestine stuff matters. Because then you start, I think people care about things where they see themselves in it. So when you see the Palestine stuff, you see all those years of oppression that, like, for example, our ancestors might have gone through, do you know what I mean? Whether it was like the way certain empires were, the British Empire was treating like Bangladeshis, where millions of us were given like there was famine, a lot of us died. People like Winston Churchill still haven't been held accountable per se, you know what I mean? But during the lockdown, there was the whole thing where they were trying to break down his statue and whatnot. And I think because of these things, right, like when you see this Palestine stuff, you're like, I see myself in that person. I see as if like that was my brother or sister or mother or father suffering. And I think that's the reason you're more likely to get annoyed. And then because of your comfortability point about how they're comfortable enough that they will show up, they're not going to ever speak up when it comes to, like, on the personal level, when it comes to their own government. And the last point I was going to make, I know I'm saying a lot, but I'm trying to summarize, isn't it?
Podcast off for.
Yeah, you're right, man.
Following every point.
Yeah, and the last point I was going to make was, you were talking about why aren't people voting, why aren't people caring? How do you vote for a government body where you don't see anyone representing you? Where you don't see anyone actually speak up for the values and points that you have? Even before, at least, right? You have this Labour and you can have this Conservative Party. You have this Liberal and you have this more like you know.
Green Party and so on. So
yeah, but my point is, there's usually there's two sides to the spectrum, right? You got one side where it's
like a fake sort of a Plaza two-party system.
Exactly, right? So the reality is that those two aspects don't really exist anymore. I don't know if you guys noticed, but with the way British politics is going, it's starting to blur. The lines are starting to get blurred.
Effectively,
like you see Keir Starmer talking about conservative points as a Labour MP.
They're all the same party. They're all the same party.
Yeah, they all operate basically together, to be honest. But like, regardless, like, I feel like in America, it's the exact same thing. You can have like other parties try to come up, and they never really make any waves, right?
What it is really is, they're such shills that they will say, you say Keir Starmer will say whatever it takes for him to win.
Yeah.
They have no spine, and that's why I look back. I'll tell you a brief, like, where I stood politically in the past world. I look at Jeremy Corbyn now, and I think, wow, he had such spine, and they kicked him out of his party for it. And they kicked him out of his party, and Keir Starmer was such a spineless individual. He was even talking about, we need to remove him as an MP.
Well, that's what they use as the point to get him out, isn't it?
Even then, I look at people today. There's an MP, some Asian woman. Her name's Zarah.
She sounds really familiar.
You mean the one that got taken out? You mean oh no, you mean the one that spoke about Palestine?
Zarah Sultana.
Zarah Sultana, yeah.
Who got taken out?
Oh, I thought you were talking about what's her name again? The lady who.
Oh, not Priti Patel?
No, I thought it wasn't Priti Patel. Was it Priti Patel? The one I was running with Rishi Sunak.
Priti Patel was fine. You mean Suella Braverman?
Suella Braverman, yeah. I was talking about Suella Braverman,
people
bro.
can go to hell. And I have good reason to say that.
But Zarah Sultana, yeah, she's amazing.
I don't support any Labour politics, whatever. I'm a money man. I want every penny in the world. I want you guys to have every penny in the world. I want dude upstairs to have every penny. I want you to have every penny in the world. I don't support anything about overtaxing the people or just over socialism. But I saw her rightfully call out I think it was Rishi Sunak, and she used the word sleaze. And yeah, she used the word sleaze. The speaker, I believe, said, "Oh, that's a derogatory term. You better take that out. We're kicking you out."
Is it?
Yeah, I think I remember this.
And then she said she refused. She refused all the way up until the point where they kicked her out of House of Commons. I don't agree with a single policy she has, but when I saw that for the first time, and she's a woman, I thought she's got more testicles. She's more of a man than any politician I've ever seen in my life. You stood there and you stood up for what you believed in, and you didn't back down. You've got
There's
few
not a lot
people,
of that no more, and that's discouraging.
And this is somebody
I don't school as well.
I don't support anything that she stands for. I don't support anything that the party stands for. But for once, I was just happy to see somebody who had some spine. And that's just the kind of people that, obviously you can't have 650 leaders. You need some structure, you need some order. But you just have people who are bought and paid for, you just have people who are corrupt. And you have people who sell their own mother and sell half the country. And that's the So I can't even remember what it is you asked me, bro. But
no, thanks.
you were talking about the people. Oh, how can you support these people? There are people we can support. There are things you can do. You asked me.
No,
how
but
can
you
vote?
were speaking
How
about
can you
specifically
vote?
about the votes,
How
and
can
I'm
you
saying
vote?
that there's
How
no
can you- I'll
specific
tell you
political
what
leader
you
they can
do.
vote for.
What I aim to do is, I'm gonna look for the silliest party. I'm definitely not voting for Labour and Conservative. We need to stop that practice.
Yeah.
Definitely not
Yeah,
Reform UK.
I think we just need to end the culture of the whole two parties.
We need to end that and look for whoever is the most sort of neutral / whoever was the most pro-Palestinian. I'll vote for them.
Neither of them are.
Any of the parties that.
Oh, do you mean Labour and Conservatives, or do you mean in general?
Any of the parties that
Oh, it's
are
Green
on the
Party
ballot,
for the win, bro.
any party that was on the ballot that
Yeah.
are. They're not. I'm definitely not voting Labour Conservative.
Yeah.
I'm not voting Reform UK, them racist people.
Mm.
Whoever was pro-Palestinian or whoever's the most neutral, independent, whoever just wants good for their country or wants to stand on what they believe and not on whatever they need to say to get them in power.
Yeah.
And I'll say that from a person that, believe it or not, I was pro-Brexit. The reason I was because at the time I looked at it, I thought, this is their country. Like, if this is your country, there's nothing, you're not a bad person for saying you don't want some people over there, that's bureaucracy, telling you what to do in your own country. That's complete bureaucracy. That's like, if you want to borrow a pen from me, you need to ask the library for permission. The library needs to go to consortium. The council needs to have adjudication. And then 2 to 3 working days needs to go. That's a complete bureaucracy. That's not a way to run a country. And that shouldn't be that's how I looked at it. I thought, who cares about borders? It's their country. I can't go to Nigeria or Dubai or Pakistan and tell these men you shouldn't have a say on who goes in and who goes out or who lives. That's your country. That's what I thought at the time.
I just wanted the power to be in the hands of the people.
That's what I thought at the time. As I've sort of looked at it, and even the budget, the money about the NHS, of course I need that. It's not necessarily going to all go to NHS, but it's your money. You should have the power to dictate where that goes. As I matured a little bit more, as I looked at the surroundings, I thought they didn't have a problem with European immigration. What they had a problem with was non-European EU citizens who were able to enter the UK. So Africans, Asians who were French citizens, Italian citizens, who had that nationality, had that passport, who could come to the UK. So really it was just a racism thing. I look at it nowadays, I look at the anti-immigration stuff they're doing, and people say the word xenophobia. I say it's just more racism because you wouldn't have a problem with Australian immigrants, American immigrants, Canadian immigrants.
I thought they did. I thought they had the issues with like Polish ones and all stuff like that.
That's what I'm saying, but that's different because they don't speak English. They look at
non-English speaking.
They look at non-English speaking. They look at
and then
them
coloured ones as a different.
That's a whole worst category.
The
people that they would the people that they would call gypsies, the people that they would call travellers, gypsies, foreigners.
Yeah.
They have a problem with them. They've got no issue with Americans, Canadians, any kind of English-speaking white people coming to this country.
They can have no skills but still get more respect.
They have They have a problem with the non-English-speaking Europeans, but less so than they have a problem with, say, Nigerians, Ugandans, Africans, Indians. That's the truth of the matter. Look into it for yourself. They don't have a problem with immigration, bro. They have a problem with who they class as foreigners. And a lot of their justification is these people come into our country and they do this and that. And I think, doesn't England have a problem with going to other countries and running amok in holiday destinations, football hooligans? Don't English people, but they don't see that.
There's no accountability because Britain's never been forced to take accountability like that.
For racism, for slavery.
Why would the citizens feel a sense of accountability in that sense? It's more of a sense of like, that's just what happened. That's how it is, and we
signed some laws. You should stop complaining. And I used to vehemently back them on that. Like, it's in the past. How can you give them reparations? I used to join a debate site. One of them told me, I was foolish at the time to even think this. One of them told me the last British colony was Hong Kong in the 90s. That was 30 years ago. And you look at
Hong Kong love those guys, man.
You look at Hong Kong now. You look at Taiwan now. They're saying we could go to war with China over Taiwan. I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Who do you think has more right to Taiwan, Britain and America or China? Answer honestly. Who do you think has more right to Hong Kong, to Taiwan, Britain and America or China? It's a simple question. It's a simple question. Just answer the question.
Purely geographically.
Purely culturally, geographically. What do you guys think?
I'll be honest.
Historically speaking, culturally, geographically, who has more of a right? Britain, who has more of a say? Who do you think should be more concerned about foreign powers involving in their borders over states like Taiwan and Hong Kong? China or Britain and the United States? I'll be honest.
I feel like there's a lot of countries that get involved in international politics and policies where they may not be directly involved, but they want to butt themselves in. In terms that's my general opinion. In terms of this specific case, I don't know enough to speak on it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know enough specifically about that. When it comes to other stuff, I'm like with political stuff. I'm saying when it comes to British politics, I know exactly what I'm talking about. But the Taiwan stuff, I don't know too much on it.
I'll say even from a common sense perspective, look at something like, but these are countries that don't even speak English. Their history, the only history and connection they have to Britain is that Britain colonized them. That's it, yeah. Britain used to rule over China. They lost China, but they retained Hong Kong. Yeah. Because they retained Hong Kong for longer, and eventually they had to give it up because of post-Thatcher era. They're trying to say, oh, China, that's their own. Shut up. When will you lot take accountability? War in the Middle East is Britain and America's fault. I was educated by a person over Saudi Arabia and Britain's involvement in... Britain and America's involvement in Saudi Arabia and funneling a group of people called the family of Ibn Saud. That's how they were named, Saudi Arabia.
Ibn Saud, yeah.
And Aramco, which is Arabian American oil. Like, it's so much history of meddling and interfering. And you look at these countries, why is there no peace? You look at the politicians, they call them shithole countries. Well, you keep saying, why do you want to come to Britain? Well, had you never been to those countries, maybe those countries would have been flourishing now. Yeah. Had you never infested the ideas that white people, light-skinned people, maybe they had those ideas to an extent in the past, but had you never put the cancer in their heart, the British, Europeans, Americans are better, this is the standard, they wouldn't be coming here.
I was going to say, we've got our own people bleaching our skin as well.
You got that, but...
That's due to self-hatred over generations and trauma.
Britain catalyzed and caused that. To even just bring it back to the Taiwan example, now there's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of complexity to it. I can't simplify it. But if you ask anyone with common sense, who has more right over a Taiwan, the reason I bring up Taiwan's about super chips, and the reason we might go to war with them is because China's sort of trying to exert control over them. If they were some useless country no one cared about, then we wouldn't be saying anything. But Taiwan has got some ownership over certain equipment that they use to manufacture semiconductors, which are used to manufacture microchips, which are used in cameras, these your phones. Right. During lockdown, they were talking about, because of infrastructure shortages and so on and so forth, we were actually running out of superconductors and semiconductors and microchips. You remember the PS4 scandal? Like, nobody could get a PlayStation 4.
It's in the processors, right? And
yeah, no one could get a PlayStation 4. Yeah. Everyone was trying to buy laptops to work at home. It's because of the infrastructure, but a lot of that's manufactured in Taiwan. Britain and America wants to get involved in that China-Taiwan beef. Why? Because the same reason they were getting involved in the Middle East, because of oil. They saw something beneficial. They want to keep the hands in their souls. And it's the same thing again and again and again and again. And then you ask why. They don't want to... They go to the UN and they keep meddling in votes in relation to causing ceasefires. But that's just a long-winded way of me saying... I used to be pro-Brexit, I used to be pro, until I sort of clued in and I understood it's just more racism, it's just more financial interest, it's just more this, that, and they don't learn. They don't learn.
Right. The way I see it is like, you look at all the major superpower countries, so-called superpowers in the past. You've got the USSR in the last century, and then nowadays you've got China and Russia, which was obviously... a smaller version of the original USSR. And you look at Ukraine, look at Taiwan, look at Cuba, these countries are all small countries which you wouldn't think a massive state like the US or UK would care about. But think about them again. I'm gonna say them again. The USSR, actually no, Ukraine, Taiwan, and Cuba, and these countries are all in very small proximity to another larger country. So like, why do we care so much about Ukraine? Because Ukraine is the closest link to Russia. Why do you care so much about Taiwan? Taiwan is the closest link to China. And then you've got these other countries like obviously like Afghanistan, Syria, etc. Like, you might not know their significance, but it's like it's much greater than the country itself. But it's a much more deeper political objective,
geopolitical, international.
They're trying to fight a war through another country and focus all media attention on that other country, so that you forget the real war is probably an ideological war between the West and the East, which is just getting hot again.
I think a lot of it ties back into the fact that the old powers will always stay in power. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think obviously the British Empire colonized so many countries, did so many things, whatnot, atrocities, etc. And obviously America jumped on that vibe after. I say on that vibe, but like after people migrated there, took over.
After Britain lost a lot of their power.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, it's just they're just two peas in a pod, innit? Really.
Well, they say it's the American Empire. Yeah, that's what they call it. When you have thousands of military bases across the world, it's an American empire.
Yeah, and I think like obviously I think they call them the seven great powers or something, isn't it? Like seven great powers, and obviously those countries, I think they do have a lot. They have a lot of dictation, and I think this all kind of ties into how the British Empire is still relevant today as it ever was, in the sense that it's in power, in the sense that it's heavily involved in the UN. It will always have a very, very big opinion, like their opinion on every matter will always matter. And then I think there's also the aspect of their currency. I think the empire doesn't exist, but their currency is so heavily involved in exchange rates with how people operate and stuff, especially the US dollar, right? That's one of the most common currencies in the world. And I think money is power, right? Money in itself is power. And also, so is their political opinions because of their history. So I think these two aspects have led to them thinking that they're able to come in and dictate their own opinions when it comes to different countries and what they believe and what they think should politically go ahead. And once again, it's like you guys said, right? You were talking about how like the microchips and whatnot. You were talking about like how these, I don't know if you know about like countries like Colombia, they have like so many natural resources when it comes to crude oil, or it comes to like a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the resources that these countries have affect these other larger countries in terms of political power, and hence because of that, there is always going to be a deeper root as to why they want to get involved. You know what I mean? But you're right. I think the war between the West and the East will never truly end. You know what I mean? Yeah. This Cold War never really stopped in the 70s or 80s. Whenever it happened, it's still going on to this day.
I think there was only one winner of war, and it's not the people fighting. The people who actually win in any war is the people who sell the weapons. And then once you realise that the people who are selling the weapons are actually selling it to both sides, you realise that there is only one winner, and that's the weapons manufacturers. And like think of America and how much the firearm industry is worth, how many billions or trillions that's worth.
Military-industrial complex.
Like,
it needs
what's
war,
that?
It's a military-industrial complex. It needs war to constantly.
Oh yeah, because that's what I think financially they put most of the money into the military, don't they? It's like 40% or something.
700 billion. So comparatively to the UK, they get about 600 billion. Let's say 700 or 800 billion pounds annually.
Yeah,
and $700 or $800 in dollars annually. They spend maybe about 40 billion on the UK military, and they're saying this military is dwindling. They cut down numbers, etc., etc. In America, they get maybe $2 trillion US dollars taxes annually. They put about 700 billion in just the military alone.
Yeah, it's crazy numbers.
And if you have the culture of guns and war, and which is just so deeply entrenched into American cultures and subcultures, when you think of like the music industry, which you can briefly go to as well, but definitely a place like America, with such a violent with violence being such a core theme of the even essence of the country being there, you're always, there's always going to be some sort of thirst for conflict, some sort of thirst for war. So it doesn't make, peace doesn't actually make economic sense. So any political activist in America who wants to talk about stopping the fighting, stopping the wars, economically, it makes no sense.
There's got to be winners and losers, isn't
it? Your dad probably has a share in this company which profits off this arms sale to this. And it's like, I think when you think about the war, you shouldn't blame the soldiers, you shouldn't blame the colonels, the directors and stuff. You should blame the people who are even saying that the war should happen in the first place, and the people who are manufacturing the ones. Because I feel like if you cut off that supply line and go to that element, then there's going to be no talk. Because if there's no weapons and no fast production, then there's going to be no incentive for war to keep going on. Because how are you going to get the stocks and everything? But that's why I think these wars, these world wars, and all the things happen. I don't think that I think that people have had their disagreements and arguments and everything, but it might sound a bit more conspiracy-like, but I do believe that there are people who look at the West and East War and think that's good, that's the plan.
I think so.
It's a way to make money. I guess, okay, not to make things so dumbed down and simple, but I guess the way I sort of view it, because I'm not the most educated on this topic, I'll be so real, but the way that I see it is a lot of people who chase money. So like you guys are saying, if you two go to war, exactly.
I don't believe it's a root of evil.
Let's say you two go to war right now. Let's say you two go to war right now. I can make money via selling weapons to both of you, right? If you guys kill each other, I'll just go and move on to the next person, and I'll instigate. For example, like you're saying, some of these government leaders, not accusing anybody, but just saying some of them, for example, might have invested stock in weapon company A, weapon company B. So if I can then jump up on the mic and encourage the country that we have to go to war with this person because of X, Y, Z, that's a money-making opportunity for me. But I just sort of lost my train of thought. There was a second reason that I was thinking in terms of money. Not talking about any particular war, for example, but I think somebody mentioned the point earlier, which I really liked, which was not liked in a good way, but liked in the fact that I agree with it, that if I'm a superpower, right, I forgot, it was one of you two that mentioned, if I'm a superpower and that country wants to go to war with that country, in my head, I know that country wants to go to war with that country because they know that that smaller country has certain resources that's going to make them a lot of money. I realize, oh no, I have a much higher currency. If that country then wins that war with a smaller one, they're going to take all my money, and it's going to shift in that direction. So if I align myself with them, maybe we can become buddy-buddy, rub shoulders, so that I can still stay afloat. I know I feel like I've dumbed it down a bit because I'm not the most educated on this topic, but that's how I view it. Do you know what I mean?
Bro, these international wars are like flipping postcode wars, bro, but just on a larger scale, man. You know what I mean? It's literally like, this is my boy. Oh, you're trying to root to my boy. I'm gonna come for you. Like, you know what I mean? That's a dumbed down level. You know what I mean? And I agree with you though, in the sense that there's resources there. Oh, it's gonna affect me. I'm coming for you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's that more devious.
Not I'm coming for you, like as in I want to attack you, but I'm coming for you as in I want to align myself with you. I'm not gonna name any particular countries, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you mean going for countries that are potentially threatened?
No,
or the ones that are gonna be trying to start the beef.
Let's say you two went to war, right?
Okay.
And I know that you've got a good economy, but my economy is even better. My currency is worth even more, but you're not too far behind. And if you beat him, then your economy is going to skyrocket, and you're going to go way past me. So I know you might win that war. So instead of trying to go to war with you and risk my own people, instead I'm just going to try and become friends with you, so that we can then trade. You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. I feel like I've dumbed it down, but you get what I'm trying to say?
No, that was good.
I'm not the most educated on this, but that is sort of the way I view the world. Because I think with me and politics, that's why I've been so quiet today. I'm just trying to absorb information. You get what I mean? I don't want to speak out of ignorance. So for me, I find conversations like this quite interesting because I'm not the most political person. I don't know the most about politics, but I like seeing the different opinions. And I guess money, I personally think, in some ways, money can be the root of all evil when people get greedy. I think that it's not as black and white as money is the root of all evil. I think it's bad when people get greedy. So, for example, if I'm so desperate to make money, I don't care about human life, then I'll align myself with you when you go to war with him to keep myself afloat. But when I keep my morals my own personal morals, and I'm actually thinking about things, I don't think money's that worth it. Like, do you get what I mean? Whereas some people,
it's not worth doing
like,
something.
I was gonna say, like, somebody, exactly, like I was gonna say, I think somebody mentioned somebody will like toss their own mum aside just to get
People will
some
do
money.
that. That's arrogant.
Yeah.
People will do that.
But then that's when it becomes evil to me. But I think if you're pursuing money genuinely because you want to improve your lifestyle and, you know, maybe raise a family, for example,
That's
there's
respectable,
nothing wrong
obviously.
with that. But
I
when
think
you're
if
so
you just wanna blow
desperate,
cash
when-
is fine.
Yeah,
Like,
but when-
if it's
problem
your
is-
cash, it's fine. But when you're trying to
it's not even
squash
just money,
somebody
it's
for it, do you get
power
what I'm trying to
and
say?
influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why one of the 7 deadly sins is gluttony and not
Exactly,
money.
yeah.
But one of the reasons why like I've started to believe a little bit more or sympathise with the argument that money is the root of all evil is because I went to Uganda when I was 11, and I went to a village which, like, I guarantee no one listening would have ever heard, unless obviously it's my relatives. But yeah, in a village in northern Uganda with GDP of God knows whatever the value would be, just not very much in terms of UK or US terms. And the way the West wants us to think, or what they would want us to believe, is that these people are sad all day, they're crying, they have no food, they have no water. All Africans have no water. All Africans need the help of the West. They need a white person to go over to save them. So that whole narrative, which is built up over ignorance, I realized how fake and wrong it was at 11 years old. And I didn't even know that I was realizing. It's only when I thought about it again. But I was thinking, these people have so little, but why are they happier than anyone I've seen in London? Anyone? Why is the place looking like, you know, fairly empty and like not the most kind of structured in terms of straight line brick walls and shining roads and stuff like that? Yeah, they haven't got any of that to any extent compared to my local neighborhood. The houses here are looking like, you know, like palaces. But why is no one talking to each other? Why are people not excited to say good morning? Why are people not excited to start the day? They say Britain is the second most like, unhappiest country in the world, like on a recent survey. And when I first saw that, I was like, I can't believe it. Surely not. With we pride ourselves in GDP, we pride ourselves in culture, we pride ourselves in music, we pride ourselves in so many things. But this pride and this financial wealth and influence that we have, is any of that actually linked to happiness, or does it actually have an adverse effect? And that's when I kind of thought, maybe the pursuit, not money itself, but the pursuit of money is the root of all evil. I think that's one of the one verse. I don't know whether it's in the Proverbs or one of the books of the Bible. I'm not advocating for any religion here, but that quote there sticks with me, and that's why.
I think I agree with you in the sense that the pursuit of money can lead to that, but I think it's less to do with money per se in terms of just like, being financially secure. I think it's more to do with the fact that when you want an abundance of it, right? Mm-hmm. So
it's when you want more than what you need.
Than what's necessary.
I think what it probably is.
But
I'll let you finish.
yeah, I was gonna say, let me finish my point, innit? So I was gonna say, I think that can be an aspect, but I think the thing that actually is more linked into why people might be unhappy or how people are trying to make money is I feel like sin is profitable, and I think like anything that this is my personal like observation of like what I've seen. Like I think we've spoken about this like off camera in it before, and I think we were talking about like how I was saying that like I want to do businesses, we got a business together, like there's things I want to do, this and that. I'm like, cool, but when I look at the people who've made the most money or the easiest routes to money, it's all linked to sin. Like whatever sin, whatever religion you're from, whatever you consider as unethical, there's always some link to that and profitability in terms of the easiest routes at least. And also the biggest success, I'll be honest. So it's always hard to maintain your integrity and keep to oneself and keep that self, you know, that understanding of oneself. And I mean that Freud, like I don't know if like Freud spoke about it or something, but like, you know, knowing oneself, like you lose that when you delve into sin. I don't want to talk too much on religion, but like obviously for me, like for my religion, it's deeply integrated into how I live my life and why I've gone through periods where I've been like depressed and all of that stuff. And I realized that a lot of that, like we're all sinners and whatnot, right? But like it was when I was most involved in sin and most involved in like not remembering God and all of that stuff. And the more I've strived away from that stuff, and I've strived further closer to my religion, and really finding my purpose and sticking to oneself, knowing oneself, then that's when I was happiest as I am now. Like now I am the happiest I've been in my life. And so to touch it back to the point, I think it's not the pursuit of money that's the issue, it's how people pursue money. And I think that slight change is what really matters, bro. Because I think there's nothing wrong with wanting an abundance of money. Like, this is a short life, it's a temporary life. Like, if you want just enough to, like, on a 9 to 5, which is no disrespect, like, to be comfortable enough, you're going home, watch with Netflix, just chill with your, like, family, all of that stuff. There is nothing wrong with that.
I don't think that exists anymore, but I'll come on that.
Yeah, calm. But then if you're someone who wants to, like, they're super ambitious, they want to do this, they want to do that, they want to be like a game changer in the world, and they want to have this much money so then they can go to the Maldives 1 week and then go to, like, I don't know, like Kingston in, like, Jamaica or something, like, the other weekend. There's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, it's a short life, so live it to the purpose that, live it based on the purpose that you believe you have in this life. But if you're going to delve into things like sin and all of that stuff, and these things are going to only cause more problems for people, and they're going to only affect people in a negative way, of course it's going to eat away at you, because it's eating away against that aspect of what is good and what is evil, your morality. Do you know what I mean?
I think, go on, no.
So yeah.
No, the thing I like most about what you just said is the profitability of sin. And I think that's the main change within the 20th and the 21st century. Like, think about something so simple as OnlyFans.
I was literally going to say that when you said that. That's the first thing I was thinking of, bro.
How are you going to tell a 16 or 17-year-old girl to go to school, study, and work for 20 years and expect her, with the social demographic environment she is, to listen to you as, I don't know, an older brother, uncle, whatever, telling her some things about morality, when she's saying, one of my mate's sisters, she's made 10 million of OnlyFans in 1 year when she started at 18, now she's 19.
It's the minute they turn 18.
Yeah. So then she's gonna look at you.
You remember the whole Bad Baby thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
the minute, and it's not even just that. Like, it's not even just girls. It's boys. Like, they think they have to do fraud. They have to sell drugs. They have to.
I have a theory though as to why.
But that I feel like that's different though. I was gonna say, you know, the OnlyFans thing you were saying though. I think before OnlyFans there's always been the I don't know, I'm not allowed to say the word. Like the porn industry. Okay, calm. I don't know if you care about censorship.
Just say
or
the
not,
adult
something.
industry, bro.
The adult industry. No, but I don't know if you have censorship in it, so I just got to double check in
say
it. But like basically, yeah, with the adult industry, that's been around. If you think about it, right, there's prostitution, which is the oldest industry in the world. Then there was the adult industry. Then now there's OnlyFans. OnlyFans is just the latest evolution of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
OnlyFans is just it's part of the porn industry.
But the evolutions make it 100 times worse though.
Of course. It is the evolution, because then there's the issue is, right? The issue is, right, you know, the governments were based on, like, so I'm just talking about legalities, isn't it, right? So the government's, like, legal system, a lot of it was based on like religion, innit, and stuff like that. For example, like the most, like, we obviously all know the British, and like the British policy was based on Christian. Yeah, like that's why there's Church of England, all of that stuff. King Henry VIII, like, created a new, like, you know, sect and all of that stuff, right? And I think because of that, yeah, like the religion aspect's been kind of lost, and that's more the legalities. And that's, like, obviously, you know, the new wave of atheism and all of this stuff. Like, there's obviously the morality is based on legalities now. So it's like, okay, cool. If I'm going and selling myself, you know what I mean, I sell my body into the night and whatnot, that's an issue, because legally that's an issue. Now, if you're doing it because you got a camera on, go get your bag, sis, get your bag, king. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's a whole change because of legality, because we're teaching ourselves that morality is based on legality a lot of the time.
The problem isn't about the pursuit of money or how you pursue it. It's, you spoke on religion. I studied a lot. I wouldn't say studied, kind of formally studied, but I learned a lot from watching certain Dawa people, watching certain speakers. I think one of the things is, they say nobody's an atheist. You just don't worship God. What you worship instead is
more money.
Your own emotions, money, your own emotions. You're a slave to your own emotions. How you feel is what dictates your life. You're a slave to your parents. Some people do whatever their parents say. even if their parents are racist, even if their parents are even if their dad's hitting their mum, even if their mum's cheating on their father, they're a slave to their parents. They're a slave to the the Kardashians rather, sorry. You might not worship God, but what you actually worship is something that's poisoning you and poisoning society. So the people all these politicians, these people that start wars, all these people that, what they're doing is they're actually a slave to their own ambition. All they care about is they want their name in the history book that bad that they'll do anything, like no matter what it costs. They don't care what war they start. Like they don't care. Like a lot of these, like it's very big in America. They think, they really think, and they raise Americans to think America's the only place in the world. Yeah. Every other place, and the
Europe. Europe. I'm gonna go Europe this summer.
The politicians will sort of have it in their mind. Even if I have to destroy half the planet, as long as America's good. That's what matters. As long as America's good.
No, I think.
And when you just to finish this off, you spoke about religion. It's about having.
What, principles?
It's about
principles.
Religion gives you a principle.
Yeah.
That these people lack. You could be a billionaire as a Muslim or a Christian or a monk or whatever. But it's almost as if you're not supposed to kill people for it, or you're not supposed to use it. You can get your money, but there's a limitation to how you can get it, and you have a responsibility as to what you have
boundaries within yourself.
Yeah.
But I feel like religion. So I'm also okay. This my point isn't anything. My point was obviously religion helped me, but it wasn't to do with the fact that I think basically what your point is principles. Principles make a man, right? A man is with the principles, right?
That's why there's no men left.
Yeah, that's the thing in it. So religion is the easiest way for.
Because without
a man is nothing without his principles, isn't it?
No, that's what I'm saying. Then I said that's why there's no men left, and then I said that's a very controversial statement.
Oh damn! Yeah.
I would like to dive into that though.
Yeah.
I will, but there's something I do want to move on to quickly later.
Yeah.
The reason I want to say that is because what these egalitarian people say is, law is common sense.
Yeah.
Forget about what you think about this and that and this. We all know you shouldn't murder. No, that's a lie.
Does common sense exist?
If there was no religion, you would be acting like animals and murdering each other. It's religion that came to you that told you stealing is wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's what animals do. If you got a lion there, you got a lion there. If that lion's hungry, man, he's taking the food. Whether or not, don't matter how many gazelles you killed.
Yeah.
Or what you had to go through to get that gazelle. If that lion is hungry, he's taking your food. Religion gave people the morality to understand what you consider common sense. That murder and rape and stealing is wrong. That fraud is wrong. Religion gave people that. Now people took the common sense ones and they're like, why should I do this thing that I don't quite agree with? As long as I'm not killing anyone, why shouldn't I do drugs? I'm not affecting anyone else. Religion gave you stuff and you decided you want to take like half and you want to call that half common sense that everyone should have, and the rest you want to sort of pick and choose. And it's the picking and choosing that's causing people to say, okay, I'm selling my body on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm selling drugs. Am I really doing anything that bad? That's what the problem is. You should defend your country. You should put your country first. But to what extent? How many millions of people will you kill for safety of your country?
Yeah.
How many, the war on terrorism, for instance, or the war on drugs, forget terrorism, how many countries have been destabilized? How many people have been murdered for the sake of the war on drugs? And at the end of the day, that's not even going to prevent you from doing drugs. If you're a religious person, you probably wouldn't do drugs. If you had some sort of moral decorum, you don't want to be this kind of individual who would be taking drugs. If you had a strong family, you wouldn't be taking drugs. If you wasn't poor, you wouldn't be taking drugs. It's not about going to Guatemala or going to Cuba or going to Colombia and destabilizing their economy, funding a group of some individuals who are going to fight. There's mad things. People say that you can read about it. It sounds conspiracy theory, but when you read about it, there's too much for it to just be a conspiracy theory, almost. They say the CIA funded cartels and groups to fight communism in Colombia because something about associating weed with black people and associating cocaine with Mexicans somehow fought off socialism is crazy.
Yeah, it got incorporated into the people. It was given to the poorest
like,
people. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you got to rep. You got to back your country if you're US president, if you're CIA, or FBI, or NSA.
Yeah.
But to what extent? When does it stop? When do you say
To the
this
point
is,
where other countries shouldn't exist.
That's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
the only reason I want to stop there is because I'm just thinking of time. You guys, you got to leave at some point.
At 7.
Yeah.
You got to leave here. You got to leave Leicester at 7.
No, leave here at 7.
Oh, cool. So we got.
Our coach is at 8:15.
Oh, okay, so we got
8:15.
time.
I want to go into.
Oh wait, I was going to talk about the thing that you said. So you know that you were talking about like, oh, family, this, that, and the other. That can all be summarized as desires. You're slave to your desires. That's the expression, and it's true.
Yeah, and
but I was gonna say the family bit I wouldn't say that's exactly correct, because I think that can a lot of the time be culturally significant.
Or you're a slave to your culture, or you're a slave. It's effectively.
Yeah, but then I would say that
Think
that's less
about-
desires, and that's more to do with like your community, and that's where it touches on your point about what is common sense, and is common sense like something that we're born with? No, we're not. We're not born with common sense. Common sense is based on the society that we grow up in, the community that we grow up in. The community's sense is our common sense. Do you know what I mean? That's where that's coming from.
That's what the word "common" comes from. Community.
Yeah, you get me.
I
Yeah,
even-
see.
On
And
that funny note, do you know goodbye means God be with you?
is it?
Yeah. So
I
when
never
an
knew that.
atheist says goodbye to you, just say to them.
Oh, thank you, and God bless you too.
God, it's goodbye. God be with you. Goodbye. That's where it comes from.
Fairs. I was gonna say, yeah, no, I think I can definitely speak from a personal point of view. I feel like religion does give you direction, does give you morality. It gives you that level of common sense. And I think the issue is that when people come to invest in their egos and stuff, and they believe that they know best, and their time is the right time, and the younger generation don't know what they're talking about, the old generation don't know what they're talking about, which happens with every generation anyway. That's when the issue becomes right, when we think we know best.
But that's why I said to you, bro. You know Jordan Peterson, who's a famous atheist, or agnostic, whatever. Yeah. That's something. Atheist doesn't exist. But he even asked a question. He asked this question himself. This came with an instruction manual and it was designed. That came with an instruction manual and it was designed. That came with an instruction manual and it was designed. It had a unique design, specific design, and it came with an instruction manual how to use it. The specific power source, what to plug it into, how long it's gonna last, etc., etc. And he asked the question, what is the instruction manual for humans?
Religion.
And that's religion. That is religion. Ultimately speaking, it's gonna sound like we're trying to sell people something, but when you lack religion, or I don't know where else you're gonna get because common sense doesn't just make, it's not spontaneous.
Yeah.
When you lack religion, that's a lot of the time when you start doing these French things.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like a big reason as to why a lot of people have been turned away from religion and been put off by it is because I think a lot of the time people see the people of the religion and they think that is the religion, when in reality a religion is the scriptures and it's the books and it's the principles of what it teaches, not the people that represent it all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Probably not that, bro.
I would say that.
More than that, what you said, sin is profitable, and it's easier to not follow religion.
No, I get what you're saying. No, I agree. First of all, I do agree.
Don't do this. Also, if you're not religious, you don't have to.
I agree with your point. I agree with your point. But my point was gonna be slightly different, bro. I was gonna say that I think the aspect of you see like a lot of there's people who are religious by name, or they'll associate themselves by name. They'll be like, oh, I'm Muslim by name. I'm Muslim, I'm Christian, I'm this, I'm that. But they do it by name. But how much do they actually go and delve into their own religion? How much do we actually try to study? Do you know what I mean? School and this stuff, it does teach us to learn the things that we're forced to learn, but it also does teach us that studying is important. And it's about being lifelong learners. They always throw that term around, don't they? Like being lifelong learners. And we have to apply that to everything in our lives. Like, if we're not continuously trying to learn about your own religion and why your purpose is greater than this life, then what are you really doing, you know? And it links back into what you said. Sin is profitable, sin is profitable, innit? So, yeah. But, yeah, common sense, I think that happens. And there was another point I was going to say. There was something you said back, 2-3 minutes ago. It was about, you were saying, oh, you shouldn't blame the political leaders, you shouldn't blame the soldiers, you shouldn't blame that. But the thing I was going to say was, who do you blame them? Because if you keep, the thing is, none of these political powers, none of these political leaders or figures ever started oh yeah, let me just do this now, innit? It all goes back. It goes back. You know what I mean? At some point, it all links back to things like slavery. It all links back to things like colonialism. It all links back to other aspects, right? So when do you point the finger, and when do you sort of stop and realize that we don't even know who to point at?
You often say about the corporations, and what I say is this is all individuals.
Can I respond directly to that? I think you make a very good point there, because you think of people having people power, and then you look at the boycotts of like Starbucks and McDonald's and other companies like that, and the effectiveness that they've genuinely had, and that kind of does prove your point in the sense that that responsibility is still responsibility, even if it's a very small percentage of the pie chart. It could be one officer who's killed 3 kids. That could be extrapolated to 1,000 officers who've committed a genocide. Is that colonel now who ordered that genocide more responsible than all the 1,000 soldiers who killed the kids? They're all morally responsible. So thank you for highlighting that.
I think it's called what's it called? It's called it's like overall
study?
It's a compatible
collective
yeah, what's it called?
responsibility.
Collective responsibility. Yeah, but I was going to collective punishment, but yeah, that would be the opposite term. Yeah, collective responsibility.
And
like we all have a factor and role in
in,
this. You know what I mean?
I don't know what to say this accurately, but I've read in a particular region. I don't want to misquote, so I'll be a bit vague about it. But in some religions, you can almost get punished for watching somebody commit a sin, and you didn't say a word. It's almost like you participated in it.
Yeah, because you're
bystanding.
You're a bystander. That's why you're advocating it because you haven't done anything.
It's a little bit more than just like I was walking by and somebody was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
It's like you sort of sat and watched and
You enabled
laughed
it.
along.
Yeah, enabled.
You enabled it. We actually live in a society of too many enablers.
Yeah, it's true.
Too many enablers, too many bystanders. They wrote about it in a book, innit?
It's fear. Fear creates bystanders.
No. They wrote about it in a book that it was an example. I think it even turned out to be fake.
Yeah.
But that's a podcast for people interrupting it, and that's a good thing. But they wrote about in a book a woman was being murdered, and it was in a neighborhood, and while she was screaming and being stabbed, there was like a sort of distance between her and her killer, and she was calling for help, and people would look, and rather than call the police, somebody else would be like, oh, I think he's going to call the police. But that person didn't call the police because he's saying that person is going to call the police. And I think they ended up coining it the bystander effect. I don't know if it was a real story.
Is this about what happened in Clapham Common? You know that white lady that passed away like 2 years ago from someone who chased her down.
This is just a.
Is it a thought experiment?
Yeah, I think it's a thought experiment.
Okay.
It's just something that's been existing for a long time, but
yeah.
it's a phenomenon we can observe.
Yeah.
Like maybe what you're on about in Clapham. What is it about?
Oh, sorry, that was a famous. It was a famous case that happened like about 2 years ago. I think it was like this.
I think I remember.
It was like this. This white lady who was going out for a walk, I think, and it wasn't even that late. It was like 7-8 p.m. Do you remember when this happened?
No.
It was okay. It was been by around uni time, but
yeah.
So then she was out for a walk. I forgot her name now, but yeah, it was on over the BBC. Walking, and then out of nowhere, some guy started chasing her. Some people saw it, some people didn't speak up, obviously. And then I think something happened where sexual assault, and then she got killed in it, and unfortunately. But I think we all do have a responsibility towards our community and protecting each other, right?
What did you disagree with when I said that by being a bystander is like caused by fear? That's what I think.
Right. Sorry. So first of all, do you want to finish your point, and then I'll say my explanation why.
So I think being a bystander is caused by fears because, in reality, if there was no risk involved in the action that you would take, I think you'd do it. Let's say someone screaming on the other end of the platform, you're in a train, I'm going to kill myself now, I'm about to jump, I'm going to jump. Like, logically,
a lot of people
if there's no risk, you would want to, drag that person, and you don't want to see someone, throw themselves in front of a train because it's too much trauma for everyone. It's bad for them. Bad for everyone, basically. But because in that moment, you're more worried about, what if I don't make it out in time? What if I end up sacrificing my leg, my limb for this? Or what if I cause a scene? What if? The constant overthinking, the what if, the fear of judgment. A lot of people will freeze up. A lot of people will you'll be surprised. Let's say even particularly a place like London, especially, there'll be someone screaming, doing something outrageous. No one will react because everyone feels conditioned that they have to just have that sort of self-image.
Yeah.
And I think the way that people care so much about what other people think about them. That also links to social media. You're probably watching this on a social media app. But the way that people care about every single thing that other people do, it's just so toxic in it. And even in small situations, completely unrelated, that same mindset, I think, still leads to the allowance of tragedies.
You're not in, Ben?
I wouldn't. You said you disagreed with him.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna jump in, but was there something you were gonna say?
What I was gonna add in isn't. It's not really a point. It's more of a question. My question is to that person, for example, who you're saying is so thinking about it. Oh, what about if I don't make it in time? How I'm gonna look? How can that person let that go? Because I'm sure you're gonna bring up a good argument, but so far I do actually agree with that. The whole fear thing. I do agree that we are extremely obsessed with how we look in every regard.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious as to how somebody can get past that. I know there's the traditional delete social media, this, that, and the other, but I'm sure you have a more in-depth answer.
I've actually got an answer to that, to be honest.
The way you can get past, I think, that sense of fear is not easy at all, and it's not one that can be done, I think, even in a single generation. I think it requires an entire movement of kind of self-belief. That's what it requires. It requires people to genuinely believe that their lives and their actions have high value. They need to believe that by saving this person, that's something as admirable or more admirable than winning £1 billion, getting onto Britain's Got Talent, onto Netflix. All of these false idols that we're given, growing up as kids, brainwashed to believe that anyone on TV, anyone and that is almost equivalent to God in a way. Like, I look at the way we idolize, I don't know, footballers, singers, rappers. They're ordinary people just like us, in ordinary situations. And then you'd look at, and then you'd say something like, would you rather, I don't know, save a homeless person from? You can probably try this as a social experiment. Ask young people, would you rather save a homeless person, or would you rather, I don't know, be on stage or do something with your favorite celebrity or something like that? And the unfortunate prediction that I have is a lot of the younger generation, younger than us, I think they're so desensitized that they're actually going to prefer something virtual. They're going to prefer a virtual reward over a real life reward. I think the blurring between virtual and real life leads to the point where people they don't really have regard for real life human stuff. I just think it's going.
I think that's a trend. I think you're wrong, and the reason I said I had to answer that is because I think about what Barmani said to us, our last guest.
Yeah,
on the previous episode. Go check out.
Listen, check it out. If you haven't, guys. Episode 7, isn't it?
I think so.
If you haven't checked out, what are you doing?
This is
listen, add the little notification thing.
Speaking, there's still 3 or 4 other podcasts.
Huh? That's calm, man. Throwback was just on a Thursday. Let's do it on a Thursday, innit? So we can do Throwback Thursday.
Okay. The reason I said I had a response to that was I think about what she said, innit? And it's not about fear. I don't even agree with you that fear would stop somebody from saving a bystander. You spoke about I would help somebody if there was no risk to myself versus I wouldn't help somebody if there was risk to myself. You might see increase, probably, yeah. But I think the culture, the society we live in here, people still just don't give a fuck. They don't care. Like, you walk past in London or anywhere in general, a homeless person can be screaming. They'll just walk past and ignore them. They don't care at all.
Just the culture of just not caring about.
They don't care because it's not their problem. It's almost a sort of selfishness. It's almost a sort of looking down on them. It's almost like if you're talking about a train, like someone's probably thinking, oh, I gotta get to work, man. What's all this about? But the reason I say the solution is because Barmani said people are too poor to sort of buy community. And she said that specifically about Londoners. She said you need to have money to buy community. And Londoners are so poor that all they do is spend their money on housing and paying their bills. They can't afford these basic amenities like community and sort of things like that will make a society. And the solution really is, I think of a country like Nigeria or something like that. Or maybe you can even think about your own home country. The type of a different society that we're living in. They have social media as well. the youth all have social media. They probably still do care about, in our cultures, they care a lot how you make the family look.
Yeah.
So they care about self-appearances. But were somebody to jump off a bridge or someone was to be on a cliff edge, people wouldn't just be like watching that, not caring, because the community just doesn't see that as a possibility. What you need really is not to change people's view through social media. It's to sort of start to raise people to care about others. You need community. Like, you need to care about your society. You need to care about your fellow man. Like, the same way, might be an odd example, but it makes, the sense that it makes is that I was walking once and there was a woman somewhere to my left. I threw some litter, but the wind blew, so it didn't go in the bin. So I've went to now pick it up and put it in the bin. The woman says to me, "That's good what you did." Her thought process must be like, "Oh, these kids will litter, they don't care." People do stuff like fly tipping where they'll be driving, they'll throw rubbish out of their car, they don't care. Because people in society have a "I don't care" attitude. So she must have saw me sort of pick up that thing that I missed and put it in, and she was happy that a young person did the right thing, because people don't do the right thing and they don't care. What you need in society is, you need to start raising people to care about each other and to care about the community they live in, to kind of take a bit of pride, like, so that you don't live. Even my mum was getting mad at us the other day about putting rubbish in the recycling bin, and we was just laughing like, "Oh, yeah, he's gonna have to remove it." And she was like, "But why don't you care? Like, people are paying for this, people are trying to sort this out. Why don't you care? It might not affect you, like, it might not personally end your life or be significant in your day, but like, people are trying to do something. They create recycling for a reason. They build roads for a reason. Like, you should care about the community in which you live." She often tells me, in Nigeria, they had like, when she was growing up, they had like inspectors that would come to your house, make sure it was clean, that sort of certain bacteria wouldn't spread and stuff like that. They will come to your house on a weekly basis. Why? Because people cared about the society. What you're talking about, in Western countries, we have a lot of, "If it's not my problem, I don't care. If it ain't me, I don't care." Well, think about something just simple like, if you saw somebody in your school getting bullied, would you speak up? Do you have the balls to speak up? You'd want someone to speak up. You want to know that you're in a school where somebody will speak up for your child, or your child will speak up, because you want people to care about more than just themselves. And that I'll be real, that probably takes religion. It probably takes some sense of pride in community or something like that. That's the solution. I don't think it's the social media, because people can't really just keep sort of blaming socials or saying that it's because people care too much. People care about themselves everywhere, but they don't care about the things that sort of matter and make a community and make a society. That's what it is.
I got a few points, I got like 4 or 5 points cooking now.
Go on.
So they're all going to link together in it to make my final point, or my final 2 points. So the first point is, I feel like you're talking about selfishness versus selflessness. That's your point. It's the duality of man, of thinking about oneself and thinking about others. I think intrinsically we do think about ourselves in it until we're taught to think about others, which is your point, as you will see within communities like within countries like Nigeria and whatnot. But then I think that in itself links into like the values we're taught in the communities we grew up in. So of course, ethnically you're Nigerian, but so you're gonna be brought up with Nigerian values based on your family, and obviously it's common values I'm gonna say here within Nigeria. But then you're also gonna be brought up with the values of the British, right? Because of the area you're growing up in, because of the people you're interacting with, etc. So those two values are going to combine together to create the values that you have, as well as like things like religion and other stuff, right? Then the next point I was going to make was that you guys are talking about like, thinking about others, thinking about like, people more likely want to... Sorry, no, this is your point. You were talking about like, people would rather go spend time with celebrities than help a homeless man. I think that links into the religion point, which is people are more obsessed with what's going to happen in this temporary world than the long term in what's going to happen in the next life. Do you know what I mean? What the accountability for their own actions, right? About like, if someone asks you on your last day, you're going to be like, "Oh yeah, what was something that made you happy?" Like, it could be like, "Oh, I really helped this guy out when you really needed me in it." You won't think about the time that you sung with Jay-Z or something, bro. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, the sad truth is that some people will think of that. I think it all links into the two things. You were saying social media is not to blame, but I think that's not quite right.
No.
And the other point I was gonna say,
social media ain't the scapegoat for our society.
No, it's not the scapegoat, but it does link into what I'm gonna say. So, I think the actual issue and the reason you asked me to say my point in it about the fear stuff. I wanted you guys to all cook in it so then I can see if my point is still true or not. But my genuine belief is that the issue is two things that combine together. We as a society, which is full of individuals, are not full of people who are critical thinkers or self-reflectors.
That's the one. That's a good one.
And those two aspects are the things that make you develop as a person. Self-development. Why do you think self-development is such a big thing right now for our generation, especially with the wave of social media?
The online gurus and the
right.
Yeah.
But like, do you know why? Like, okay, so there's aspects like a lot of people are falling out of religion.
They lack. A lot of people just lack. I remember I saw something that is about a YouTube channel guy who was like, he teach people dad stuff because they just didn't.
Old white guy in it, yeah. But he didn't have a dad as well, innit? That was the thing. Yeah, because that guy didn't have a dad, and then he wanted to teach.
The self-help people are getting popular because people didn't have that. They just didn't have that.
Yeah, but it's because obviously as well. Like I feel like our generation is. I feel like a lot of people like to dampen our generation, but I think our generation is one of the best generations because it's a generation that addresses trauma and the issues within our society. I like aspects like there's a lot of time I know people make jokes like our generation's like, oh, what the flip are we doing, innit? But the one thing I like about
our generation has probably the most critical thinkers because if you think about from Gen Z, X or Boomers or whatever, a lot of those people are sheep.
Yeah, but it all links back to the priorities, and it leads back to the comfortability.
I was also just gonna add real quick. I think I agree with everything that we're saying about the whole our generation likes to think a lot. I think it's good because we've sort of become the sort of people who think. I think we think more about the future than being sheeps in the present a lot of the way. So, for example, we're a lot more analyzing what our parents do and our own behavior. Like, for example, we might not agree with something that our parents do, but then we're able to analyze and see, I do the same thing myself. Let me cut this out now as I'm young before I start having children. I also think, okay, this is a complete separate point. I also think it's a reason why a lot of us want to have children later than earlier because a lot of us are so focused on development that we want to fix ourselves first and become the men and women we want to be before we start having children, for example, which I think is a good thing because I think overall it will just help us to get better and better as we go forward as a society. But this is a completely separate point. I just want to toss in, the whole self-help guru thing.
Yeah,
I think it's both a good thing and a bad thing. I think it's good because there are a lot of self-help gurus who are helping people to improve and improve in society. And I will also add on as a side point, I think a lot of the things that they say can be found in a lot of religious texts. Because I 100% agree with what you guys were saying about it being an instruction manual for humans, 100%. But I think it's also dangerous because a lot of them are coming in and seeing, I've got this vulnerable young man.
Yeah, of course,
how can I make money off of him? I can sell him this product, that product.
18, 19-year-old young man who's just been given money.
Because they're lost, they don't have purpose, I can get them, do you know what I mean?
Wake up at 6 a.m, go gym, change, lose,
but in reality, they don't even doing that, bro.
Yeah. And a lot of people end up falling into... Can I use certain words on this thing?
Speak freely, bro. I'm not going to keep myself.
Basically, a lot of people fall into this sort of like self-help masturbation. Yeah. Where, they're telling...
no fap as well, like...
Not even no fap.
Like, people are selling courses on no fap, bro.
I was going to say, not even no fap.
I did not even know.
I was going to say, not even no fap, but the idea that... Mad. Let's say they tell you don't fap.
You need to make a thing about it.
But then, like, for example, they'll then run off and watch 1,000,001 self-help videos because they think that they need to do it. Meanwhile, they're not actually applying it to themselves. Yeah. I think they call it, is it like self-help masturbation or something like that? Probably, and also to cover the nofap.
To be fair, I feel like self-help itself could be a whole another episode,
To cover the whole nofap thing.
You got Tate, you got Myra.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It could be a whole another episode.
To cover the whole nofap thing as well in the course, that's a perfect example of what I'm trying to say. People see vulnerability and weakness. I've got this young man who's he's impressionable, exactly. His head is empty, not in a disrespectful way, but it says that he doesn't know who he is and who he wants to be. If I come in now and jump on him, then I can get in his head and sell him this product. For example, you don't need a book to tell you not to beat your meat 5 times a day. Yeah. You don't need a book on it.
This is your rite of passage as a growing doll. Stick yourself to some things, play some football, find religion,
you need to experiment.
Some friends. Get a job. These things will pass. You don't need to. Maybe you didn't have someone to tell you, but you don't need to make an existential crisis out of it.
Exactly.
Now you need to get help from a guy online. Like,
it's manipulation.
In a way,
to get money out of him.
Because I think the reason. Sorry to cut you off. The reason why I speak about stuff like this is because I've been that guy before. that thought I needed to watch Hamza, for example. And this is
Oh,
not me
Lord,
trying
that
to
guy, man.
this is not me trying to disrespect him, but I thought I needed to watch him. If he released, bruv, and it's interesting the point about worship, because it's like if you don't worship God, you're gonna worship somebody.
You will
worship somebody no matter what.
It
So
won't even be
false
something. It could
idols.
be something, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People
So,
worship.
It could be an ideology.
Exactly.
Yeah,
People
like
actually worship
Stoicism is a big thing now, isn't it?
So I'll give you an example. If Hamza, let's say Hamza releases something, I have to watch it. And this is when I was younger. Now I'm a bit more different. And now I think my whole thing is experimentation. I like to look at different ways of life, the different ways that people live, the different, even the simplistic thing, the different foods that people eat, for example, just the different things. I don't latch on to people anymore. And I think a lot of people in our generation latch on to people.
I think all generations, because even Joe Rogan, people latch on to. They want a cult following. Back in the day, they had a presenter called, he was Walter Cronkite. He was like, he was a specific presenter. He had his own show, but they said he was the most trusted newscaster in America. Whatever he said was the truth, to an effect. And he was that guy you went to if you wanted to hear the truth. All the presidents had to go on his show, kind of thing. People have always sort of looked for somebody to, this is their truth, and people still have it. But now you just have it on social media where, and you were saying the same thing about OnlyFans. I think OnlyFans is like, you've got your Twitter, which has existed since maybe 2008. You've got your Google since 2002. OnlyFans is just your
easily accessible.
OnlyFans is just your Snapchat. Maybe it existed since 2020. It's just another one of the sequel of what's, and in 10 years there's going to be 10 different more. So
Yeah.
These people that people are latching onto, there's going to be more. But the problem is, what is good actually is, again, we have critical thinkers, people that like to think for themselves. Life is holistic. You're going to have ups and downs. You need to.
It's about riding the waves, isn't it?
Honestly, you need to ride the waves. Like.
Yeah. What I've kind of thought about when I think about the podcast, I think about so many other things people do on social media and so many other ventures that people get in, and it's very easy to equate this podcast that we're talking about with someone running across in town pushing people over for 500,000 views, and think that they're both content creators, they're both doing the same thing. But I would completely disagree with that, and I would say that when you're really pursuing something which has intrinsic value, then that value will always stay. And the reason why I know this is true is because we still look at the teachings of Einstein and Newton and many hundreds and thousands of years. Imagine the people who first, I don't know, the first person who discovered fire or something like that. So I think that social media has given the illusion that stuff like doing dangerous pranks and risky stuff, which just disrupt society, is valuable because it provides you with an income. 10,000 people have watched your video. Now TikTok's giving you, I don't know, 100 quid now, something like that. And now you've got that false sense of doing good now. So you're going to keep doing that now. You're going to keep doing that. And I think the reason why people are really blurring the lines with morality, especially nowadays, is because of particularly what you said, the profitability of sin. If you're able to get a lot of money very easily, that's the main change that's happening. Of course, the prostitution's been it's the oldest profession.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But was it so easy to do it back then? That's the main question.
Yeah, you take the risk
definitely.
being out on the street. I guess
I think it was because you have
OnlyFans-
pimps and stuff, innit? Like pimps were like they were running whole towns, bro. They had whole towns where it was just prostitutes, bro.
But you're not getting.
I know. In terms of like the long term, on a global scale.
Think of how much.
Actually, I'll interrupt you and say this because I was actually watching something about it the other day. I don't know if you guys have heard of Abba and Preach.
Yeah. No.
That's why I never care about social media to the extent, because you often talk about TikTok. Now we're talking about OnlyFans. This is just a new thing today off of the old thing that has always been. People were always doing drugs in some kind of form. They discovered shrooms, hallucinogens many years ago. Weed has been growing in certain countries many hundreds of thousands of years. These things have always existed. The internet has just popularized actions. Like, even, you saw that kid who walked into some random people's house.
Oh, Mizzy.
Mizzy, and then obviously did some other pranks. He took some old woman's dog.
It'd be nice to have Mizzy in it.
It's messed up what he did, but a lot, and you know, they'll turn around and say, our generation.
They look at one guy and use it to find all of us.
What people are lacking to understand is, believe it or not, old people were just doing that shit. Like, remember, they used to TP people's houses. They used to egg people's houses, like, on Halloween, stuff like that.
Even things like blackface and stuff like that.
So,
we can talk about that.
The bottom line is, people, believe it or not, bro, people have been doing this kind of stuff all the time throughout history.
Bro, like Knockdown Ginger, man. Knockdown Ginger is such a classic game.
Like,
you know what I mean?
I don't want the internet to... That's why I think people need to stop scapegoating social media. People have been doing this stuff throughout history. Past 20, 30 years, our parents might have done it. Maybe back home they might have done their own version of similar things. I don't know what they was doing in Nigeria. Maybe in Western society they're a bit more brazen with pranks and things like that. But people did this stuff. It's not a new thing. People sold themselves. It's not a new thing. So
I don't think it's a new thing. I think it's mainly
it's
easier to see. Exactly, it's more visible because it's on social media. So for example, people go around and say, our generation, we just get quick, easy money. We just do OnlyFans. It's because it's easier to go and search for someone on OnlyFans than to go and find a prostitute on the street. You go and say. So it looks like it's more.
You get the same reward, right? You want that sexual release, right? And you get the ease and the accessibility of that.
Yeah.
But I can't lie, guys. You remember when I said I had 4 or 5 points? This actually ties perfectly into my last point, which was the spotlight effect. So the spotlight effect is basically the idea that people believe that people are looking at them at all times. So like, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, you feel nervous, you're about to give a speech or something. You feel nervous because it's literally there is a spotlight on you. But then in the same way, where when walking around, I don't know, we tripped up or something, we're like, oh damn, that was like bare embarrassing, you know. But like no one flipping looked. No one saw.
I was gonna say it's like the train incident I was telling you about.
Bro, yeah, you slipped and that's
basically
embarrassing.
there was an incident on the train one time where I was going to a podcast shoot and there was something wrong with my shoes. They were basically a bit too slippery.
There's no grip, bro.
And I was trying to get up with my suit.
Sorry.
Wait, yo. And I was trying to get up with my suitcase, right?
This pause thing is going too far.
One leg went left, one leg went right, and I fell straight down in the middle of the train. My suitcase rolled away as the train was moving, and I felt so embarrassed at that moment because the train had quite a few people. And I just realized after a while, realistically, I'm not going to see these people again. Half these people are just on their phone. Nobody, excuse my language, but nobody actually gives a shit. So I just cracked on with it, and then it was fine. And nobody was even staring at me.
100% of social anxiety is in your head.
Exactly. But I think doing these sort of, I guess that's the beauty in content creation in a way. Not trying to create a whole new point, but content creation, I think, has made me a lot more confident. It's made me a lot more confident to realize that, realistically, no one's actually looking. When we're out doing these public videos, half the time people are just on their phones, not even looking up.
Yeah, we were some of the maddest fits. I can't lie to you. So like, but I can't lie though. You are right in the sense that content creation can have its benefits in terms of like.
It has downsides as well. Don't think I'm not saying.
No, I know. I'm saying some benefits.
You can have a whole.
Of content creation, that's another
Actually,
especially when people get desperate for clout.
I was gonna finish my point though about the spotlight thing. So right, the thing I was gonna link with the spotlight thing was like it's exactly what you said. It's like the ease of accessibility. It's the giving the spotlight to the kid who's like, oh, look at me. You know what I mean? Like, do you remember that guy that got what's his name again? Something Ronaldo or something. You got Stable Ronaldo.
Oh, Stable Ronaldo got slapped by Bradley Martin.
He like for the views for the Twitch stream, he flicked his hat off of Bradley Martin's, Mr. 260.
And I was happy.
And then he slapped
Look
it.
at the comments where people said, finally, they're facing consequences.
Yeah.
Because they don't face and they kind of believe that you can keep doing this stuff.
It's true. But I was gonna say you were asking about social media as like somewhat of a downfall in it for us and whatnot, and if it's causing issues, it is because it makes things like that more visible. It makes and maybe our parents were doing issues, right? But to tie this slightly into like Islam, innit? With Islam, like we believe that like when our sins are kept private for us, like as you guys, some of you might know, I don't know if you're Muslim. Are you Muslim?
I'm not, but I know a lot about it.
Okay, fair. So you might know that like sins can be private, innit? And when the sins are kept private for you, that's Allah watching out for you. You know what I mean? Allah's keeping those sins private for you. It's a blessing. You know what I mean? But when sins are actively shown, once again, it links into profitability of sins, and the profitability of sins leads to quick cash and leads to a lot of cash. That's why you got people like Kick and stuff who are sponsored, who operate based off like a gambling website, and there's people doing whatever nonsense they want, but again, the views and everything else. So yeah, like I just think it all does link together, you know what I mean? But then the only way we can combat it is through a society and community of people who are self-reflectors and critical thinkers, you know what I mean? Like if we don't have that society of individuals who can create a community, then we never truly will be able to move past this point. And social media is just all social media has done is made it harder for us to move on as a society and build. But our generation is full of a lot of bright young people who are trying to develop that. But social media is always going to be trying to take that away from us. That's the issue in it, because of how addictive it can be, do you know what I mean? And how the reliance we can have upon like certain content creators.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, you know, I forget what it's called, but you might have seen it in a previous video. You talk about reliance on content creators. I think there's a sort of effect. You almost you feel like you vicariously live through that content creator.
And you form a parasocial relationship.
Yeah, that's what it is, a parasocial
relationship. You're talking about this before, yeah.
Because a lot of people, for example, it's also why, I'm trying to think what the point I'm trying to land. A lot of people feel like they know people when they don't actually know them. And they feel like, I'll give you an example, how most people have a proper relationship with their actual parents. If they need advice on something, they've got their actual parent to go speak to. But a lot of people with these self-improvement content creators, they form a parasocial relationship with them where they lose the ability to free think. They think this guy, not literally, this guy's my dad, this guy's my God, this guy can teach me. So I'm not going to actually sit down and self-reflect. What he says goes. And what makes it even worse, dangerous. Very dangerous.
It's the trust in them, innit?
There's too much trust in them.
Yeah.
And what makes it worse with social media is, let's say...
They treat them like they're fallible. Infallible, rather.
Not even... Okay, yeah, but I wasn't going to make that point. But the point I was also going to make is the fact that I can show you the best of me and hide the worst of me so that you think I'm perfect. And because you're so young,
that's
and
what
so
social media
impressionable,
is. Yeah.
But then that's the problem when you got these self-improvement guys, because then you now form a parasocial relationship with me where I'm basically like a deity. I'm a god. You know, I can do no wrong. I've made X amount of money. I'm driving my Bugatti in Dubai. I'm doing this, that, and the other. I'm the best of the best. Meanwhile, I might be a piece of shit behind closed doors. I might do X, Y, Z to X, Y, Z person, right? But you're not going to know that.
It doesn't even go that. People are just regular people. And the problem we have in society is we push everyone to be perfect, and if you're not perfect, you're the devil. You're the devil's creation. Just think about everyone like they're just regular dons that going down the street. I don't, especially with some uber religious people. I'm speaking to some uber religious people, some even sacrilegious people rather. You speak about I'm inspired by. Elon Musk, they'll kind of flip on you like, oh, why are you following these people? Or why are you worshipping these when you got all these other people? Like, it's just about, I take, what one should do is I take a bit from here that I like, leave the rest. I take a bit from here that I like, I leave the rest. And that's it. I don't really care about obsessed with everything.
That's because you can critically think, and a lot of people who can't critically think,
but that's what I'm saying. We're even stopping people from criticize the people who critically think. Because everyone's looking for an idol.
Cancel culture.
Everyone's looking for an idol. Like, you have to follow my idol or the perfect idol. But I just say, I'm a regular don, he's a regular don. I just take what I need.
It's a bit like football teams. For some people, they support football teams. Some people, they don't.
Like, they treat everything like a football team.
I'm a United fan.
I can't love a bit of this and a bit of that. It's like if you love a bit of this and a bit of that. Can
I not like how Liverpool's playing?
Exactly.
How Man City is built their team.
You have to be all in,
what I mean?
out. So
I find this crazy. I can't lie. I don't want to do
it's good that you mentioned that because
what, United?
Oh no, football.
Oh, I think about like the Red Devils.
As of right now, I'm an England fan.
You're an England fan. Yeah, listen, come on.
It's good that you mentioned that because for a while I wanted to segue into something that I saw a few days ago. That's why I asked you guys, are you okay to speak about racism?
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you
I'm
guys...
definitely not. I'm joking. No, let's go.
That's the problem. I'll slap you. But I saw a clip the other day. I've already seen the clip, so I'm just going to leave it and play it for everyone. It's a woman speaking on a punditry for, the past couple England games of the Euros. She's given like a... So I don't know if you guys have any football knowledge or anything.
I'll be so real, it's not my sport. Like, it's not something.
But you'll understand a little bit. But she's on a punditry panel.
Oh, is it the weather thing?
No. She's on a punditry panel with some other male, and they're all former footballers or personalities in the sport. And she's given her opinion on how England should play during the Euros, in which she can they might be successful. This is what she said.
Experience feels like a risk to me. I would rather see the risk taken higher up the pitch. I want to see Bellingham in that 10. I'm part of that fan club. I want to see Bellingham in the 10 and trust that Rice can deal with it on his own in that midfield. There's a gap.
So basically, if you don't understand, what she's saying is effectively have two strikers or two wide strikers, allow the wingers, put Declan on his own in the midfield. I think spread out the pitch a bit more, let Declan take a little bit more risk, so maybe optimize players in their best position they might play in their club. Or that's my interpretation. But she said have 2 10s, Declan on his own. I read the comments because I love discourse, and there's a reason. The caption says, any Aluko has suggested England should play 2 number 10s and leave Rice in the middle, and it's got like a crying and laughing emoji. I looked at the comments, and the first comment with 32,000 likes is, be careful now, she will cry racism. Another one of the negative comments is, how is this woman allowed to pun? I will never know. And it's a series of, this is like, positive discrimination. They probably got her on as the gender woman, blah, blah, blah. Why is she allowed to talk? She's never played football. They need to stop bringing in women in to speak on football.
It's narrow-minded people.
Like every man and his dog has been begging. And then because I'm a critical thinker, I've like,
come on.
I don't know too much about football.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about football, but kind of what she says to me kind of makes a bit of sense. And the first positive comment says, he's actually right on this. Play to our strengths, and that's our attackers. Folding and Bellingham in the 10 Palmer. This just feels like you're finding something to complain about because she's a woman speaking. So I don't know if you guys have been watching the Euros. I can show you the rest of the comments if you want a bit to look at some of the stuff that people said.
I saw that video too. Send that to me, yeah.
But the reason I looked at that is because we spoke a lot about racism. We didn't speak too much about gender. Obviously, the Euros are going on right now. But I've actually seen quite a lot of this, that people have a problem when there's a sort of woman commentator on a football match, or you've got a female commentator or speaking on some tactics, and she said something that, even if it's not right, she's saying something different to what Southgate said.
Oh, sorry, we still reading?
Oh, do you want to read? You read it?
No, bro, I read it.
Oh, sorry.
But,
listen, I was in the little,
I want you to see that. I hope you saw both the positive and the negative.
Yeah.
Bro, I didn't see any positive. The only positive I saw was some guy talking about his own opinions.
But the positives that I saw
Yeah.
were people saying that you lot are just angry because she's black and she's a woman. Although you might not like what she said, but there's some basis behind it. So I wanted to ask you guys what your opinion on that was.
For some people, if they've got that embedded in them, because some people, let's be honest, naturally do not respect women. Some men just naturally don't.
Yeah.
Some people just naturally do not respect certain races. So in their heads, even if it's the right message for them, because it's coming from the wrong messenger, they're gonna find a way to chat shit about it.
I feel like
Even if
so
it's
some
right.
people look at the messenger, and I feel like people with high intelligence, they'll look at the message, but people with low intelligence will look at the messenger. And I just think that's just human nature, and that's not going to change. And you can't really, no amount of trying to skew people onto one side or another is really going to change that. And I think if you're able to recognize and not kind of take it personally, I think that's probably something more effective as maybe a coping mechanism for someone who might be in school now or in an area who is facing a lot of racism, a lot of judgment for things which they know themselves they're doing perfectly fine, and it's all gaslighting to make themselves feel inferior because of the area they're supposed to be in. And what we should realize is that at the end of the day, it's them projecting their fears and insecurities, and as well as a low level of intelligence to not understand that you're actually saying the same thing. You're actually doing the same things. It's just that they're too short-sighted to look past maybe your height, your color, your skin tone, and it's such a shame that people end up becoming insecure about these things because of what others do. But if more people who are maybe more victims of such situations started thinking in this way, then there'll be fewer insecurities, fewer people feeling that they have to change themselves. I think it's something which is definitely happening more now.
What do you think?
You could tell I was cooking something in my mind. I'm joking. No, I was just thinking, I guess derogatory comedy is always going to be there, isn't it? Like,
yeah, of course.
Like, you have to remember that the way that these people are speaking isn't blunt views. It's like, it's a type of comedy, right? It's not satirical, even though they're going to try to pretend it is. It's derogatory comedy, right? And I think that is the issue. But I think also what you were saying about like shooting the messenger, right? Like, I guess people do that when they do want to shoot down the message. But I don't know why they exactly separate them. And I don't think it's human nature to hate another person or whatnot. I think that's obviously learned behavior as well. So I think these factors do incorporate. I think the more interesting question is that why do we always have to prove more? Why do we always have to prove our worth more to meet the same standards as a person that would be seen as the norm in the society that we grow up in?
Well, okay,
like my dad always said to me growing up, he was like, Irfan, look at your skin. It was like, know that you have to work 10 times harder than any person will ever have to.
And when I think about that, when I think about how I was told that 7 years old, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah, you're taught young, innit?
I didn't really. You don't actually think good, bad. You just think I've been told. This. You don't really actually think so widely. Now I think, imagine I'm looking at a 6, 7-year-old now. Am I gonna look at that 6, 7-year-old and be like, because you're white, this is going to be so much harder for you. This is going to be doing this. Or because you're Asian, now you're going to have to... I'll look at that kid and I'll be like, I'm going to let you be a kid, you know? As much as this stuff might be true, you're either going to see it for yourself, ask me questions and I'll tell you, or I'll tell you when I need to. But I'm not going to put the prerequisite in you of when you're 6 or 7 years old of already being insecure about your race before the situation even comes when they're 12 or 13 years old and they start putting something about water and they'll be like, nah, you lot have no water, like something like that. Yeah. Like before that even comes up, you've already said, oh, you're black, now you're gonna have to work test. So then when that does come up, that person confidence is even lower and they're like, I know why, it's because of this. It's because I don't know, I'm shorter, I can't play basketball anymore. Like it's a bit like telling someone who's what,